Hey you, it's CovertGoBlue, and today we're reviewing Lord of the Rings, the entire frickin' set, the Tales of Middle-earth, and I have called in some help. You see, in the world of Lord of the Rings, strange things happen. People mispronounce stuff. People have rules questions. People are like, what was this in the lore? And I found the greatest experts I could possibly find and assembled them here to advise me on all things Lord of the Rings and all things Magic the Gathering rules. They are known as Twitch Chat, and you can see them making noise right here above my head. And yeah, they're something. They're also, don't worry about the current visuals. These ads will go away, and then the chat will be much clearer and easier to read. They're like Reddit, but smart. That's what they are. So let's get into it. We are not reviewing for limited. That is the thing I stress the most. We're also not reviewing for formats that are not on Magic Arena. I don't know what a legacy is. We're not talking about that today. Today we are going to talk about mostly historic Brawl with maybe little dashes of alchemy and such thrown in, since we might play those at some point, a little historic. And if I mention the format of Commander, it's because I play that format a lot. So there might be the occasional Commander tidbit. So let's start at the top. Let's read some cards. Let's have some fun. This is the Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. First card, Banish from Edoras. 4 and a white. Actually, guys, keep track both in comments and in chat of how often I actually get things right, because my goodness, I am sure it's going to be a thing as far as pronunciation goes. Banished from Edoras. 4 and a white, sorcery, common. The spell costs 2 less if it targets a tapped creature. Exile target creature. Well, we read that. I guess that's Wormtongue. He got kicked out. Should have probably been killed. Absolutely no upside to letting him go, but whatever. The Battle of Bywater. 1 white rare sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then create a food token for each creature you control. All right, something I can get out of the way right now. Food is a thing. There is so much stuff with food. Now, the pre-con decks, the Commander pre-con decks, to my knowledge, are not coming to Arena, and there was a ton of food in those, so maybe it's less than in Commander itself. But this card seems particularly good with any of the kind of Hobbit and what would you say, the Temptation of the Ring commanders. There are multiple Frodos that this is good with. It doesn't look as great of as a card at first glance. We've had cards like this, but I think for the cards that are also being introduced, this is a very good card, and we're probably going to see it in several decks. From Dusk to Dawn got a little bit of play, and this is going to fit right in with the Hobbit themed decks. I'm sure it's better than it looks. Also, if a card is of particular awesomeness, it is going on the list. I have a high-tech, and I mean a high-tech notepad document called The List. And if we really like a card, we'll put it there, and we'll review the list at the end. If you think a card should go on the list, chat, spam the list, or put it on the list. Things of that nature. Bill the Pony. Bill, what a name. 3 and a white for a legendary creature horse, uncommon 1/4. When Bill the Pony enters the battlefield, create 2 food, sacrifice a food until end of turn. Target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Too expensive for a 1v1 format, but you know, let's get some horse cards into the format. Everybody wants their Crested Sunmare deck to be good. This is more of a crowd pleaser than a competitive card. Boromir, Warden of the Tower, is 2 and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature, human soldier, rare vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Suck it, Pact of Negation. Suck it, Mishra's Bauble. That's what we're talking about here. Sacrifice Boromir, Warden of the Tower. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. The ring tempts you. My God, can we get somebody to just please cheat out their omniscience with this on the battlefield? This card is good. I don't think it's good as a commander. I think it's a good support card. The rate is totally fine for a body that attacks and blocks, and the ability to kind of defend the team and get a little ring tempt value. It's not a bad card. And also that little bit of stacksiness that the opponents can't use their Pact of Negation while this is on the board is very, very fun. So I think that this card is fine. I don't know that it's good, but it's totally fine. Card goes infinite with Rada Drabic, does it? No. Rada Drabic. What good? So you sacrifice this, you make a token copy. You sacrifice the token copy. You don't get another token, right? Because it's not legendary. The token's not legendary. Am I crazy? Your ring bearer is legendary. Oh, whoa. Holy guacamole. So you get Rada Drabic plus this. Gives you infinite tokens. Infinite 2/2 Vigilance Zombie Boromirs? That's true? Whoa! See, this is why we have chat. This is why I can't just do this in a room by myself. I would not have got that. Yeah, thank you. By the way, I'm Not Fine is a YouTube channel for Historic Brawl. I've talked about him on my channel before, but if you are new around here, check him out. All right. It's happening. Our first card that goes on the list is Boromir, Warden of the Tower, infinite with Rada Drabic. I probably spelled that wrong. I do not particularly care in this case. So here's the thing. 2-card combo. That is in Alchemy. That is an Alchemy combo as of right now. Wow. Just saying. All right, I've got my first Alchemy deck picked out for this particular thing. So yeah, already Boromir, part of an infinite combo. In everything else, it's a good 99. Probably not a good commander. Good in humans and soldiers, of course. So yeah, wow. I'm just still like getting over the infinite combo. Can't wait to see that go off. Dawn of a New Age. 1 and a white enchantment. Dawn of a New Age is a mythic. It enters the battlefield with a hope counter on it for each creature you control. At the beginning of your end step, remove a hope counter from Dawn of a New Age. If you do, draw a card. Then if Dawn of the New Age has no hope counters on it, sacrifice it and you gain 4 life. Well, for one thing, you don't want to play it on curve because you probably only have 1 creature. But in any kind of a go wide deck, I'm thinking of course, in Alchemy and Historic, there's a lot of go wide creature strategies. In Historic Brawl, anything like an Adeline, or a Winota, like this is just a solid card to keep the gas coming over several turns. If you have a board that is worthy of being wrathed and you don't want to lean further into this board, this is a really good card to play. I think that there is a significant downside, which is you draw this off the top when you need to draw a creature or damage, and then you just play it and gain 4 life, which is probably absolutely useless to you. So this card has a very low floor and a decently high ceiling. Card draw is really fun, and in a format like Historic Brawl, you always have access to your commander, so in theory you should never have no creatures. But of course, those who play the format and try to play creatures know that that doesn't always work out that way, as people just wrath and counter your commander into oblivion. This card is medium. It's not as good as I want it to be. I would like it to be a much better. There are also things you can do like proliferating the counters. I don't know if that's particularly notable. I think this card is just okay. Dundane Blade. It's not going on the list, if that's what you're wondering. Dundane Blade. Dundane Blade? Duindane. Dunedane? Dundane. It's not Dundane? Looks like Dundane. Dunedin. Dunedine? Dunedine? That's what you just typed, is Dunedine. Dunedane. Dunedane Blade. That's what you just typed. We're going with Dunedin. Oh my gosh, you guys are so wrong. We're going with Dunedin. Blade. 1 in a white, artifact equipment common. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Equip human 1. Equip 3. In Historic Brawl, maybe you need to fill out the equipment deck and your commander's a human. That's about all I can think of. I'm also gonna see, let me check. This is my first time playing with chat box. Let me see if I can make the messages show longer. Can I make them stay up there longer? There's something called chat delay and hide delay. All right, sorry for those waiting. We'll see if that is a significant change. All right. Next up, guys, if you chat, it will help me analyze this situation. There we go. Yes, you have to help me test it. Eagles of the North, 5 and a white, 3/3 flying bird soldier common. When Eagles of the North enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain first strike on the turn, and it has plane cycling for 1. My understanding is that plane cycling can get you any planes, which in Historic Brawl is you can get the gate, which you can then use to go ahead and what does that do? Conjure, draft, whatever the thing is. You get a card. The other planes you can get is Idyllic Range, which puts a +1/+1 counter on something when it's your 4th land. Those are both fine. Seek, that's the word. It's not a great creature. This might be something if you use your graveyard for something, like if maybe you play these cycling creatures in Kroxa and Kunros just in case, because plenty of times you play a Kroxa and Kunros without enough gas to reanimate something or nothing to reanimate. So there are some decks where you want to run this. You can search up a Triome, which for some people is going to be super exciting as well. We'll move right along. This card is okay. There will be some spots where you want to play it. You can also play it in a cycling deck, but whoever plays cycling decks is soulless. East Farthing Farmer is 2 and a white for a 2/3, 3 mana total for a common halfling peasant. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token. When you do, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each food you control. That's some limited filler, but there's a lot of food in this set, and it's not like the worst rate if you have some extreme payoff for the artifact. Eastmark Cavalier is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 vigilant human knight at common, and when it deals combat damage to an orc or a goblin, destroy it. Poggies. Moving on. Eowyn, Lady of Rohan, 2 and a white for a 2/4 legendary human noble uncommon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature gains your choice of first strike or vigilance until end of turn. If that creature is equipped, it gains first strike and vigilance until end of turn. Equip abilities cost 1 less to activate. The body's decent. It's a 2 and a 4, so you know, doesn't die to everything, but probably wouldn't want to command an army with this. You need, especially with the equipped payoff, you need access to red. So this might make the cut kind of in the Danitha slot, a little more resilient than Danitha in the equipment deck. And that's about it. Aaron, Rider of Gondor, is 2 and a white for a 3/2 human soldier, a 3 mana 3/2 at common. And when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Ooh, then if you don't control a legendary creature, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. Oh, a drawback. But not the worst. It's a little bit of card selection, but I can't imagine running this, to be honest. Now they just put draw a card on everything, and you can do much better for 3 mana. For 1 mana, you get Escape from Orthanc. You get Escape from Orthanc, and it is 1 white for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. Untap it. I feel like I've seen this before. Is this Wings of the Cosmos, but with only 1 mode? Maybe it didn't gain flying. Still, this isn't a very good combat trick unless you specifically have something along the lines of a Marwyn the Nurturer setup, and that's in green, so unlikely. Esquire of the King is 1 mana, 1 white for a 1/1 human soldier common, and for 5 mana, 4 and a white to tap it. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This ability costs 2 less to activate if you control a legendary creature. Boring, probably. I mean, it's kind of an anthem on a 1/1 human. You'd have to really want 1 mana humans to play this. Like, I can't get very excited about this. Faramir, Field Commander, 3 and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature, 4 mana, uncommon, as a human soldier. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control, draw a card. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Faramir Field Commander as your ring bearer, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. I don't think this makes the cut for soldiers or humans. It's just not good enough. If it were 3 mana, it would be a good card. At 4 mana, I think it priced itself out of contention. So I think it's just there for limited. Next up is a 2 mana rare, Flowering of the White Tree. It's white for a legendary enchantment. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1. That's a little bit of commander protection coming down on turn 2. That's pretty good. Non-legendary creatures you control get +1/+1. Whoa, it's 2 mana. It anthems everything, but like legendary creatures get extra. So do you play this in that Rafine deck? Maybe you do. And just the ward 1 for your commander and the boost to your commander automatically makes a lot of things better. And it's an enchantment. It's a legendary permanent itself. So it is limited to a certain kind of deck. The best white commander that we've really found for Historic Brawl is Adeline, and this 100% goes in Adeline. Like, just slam dunk, you make room for this. I think I have like Rally the Ranks in there to buff humans. So does this go in something like an alchemy deck like, or a historic deck like Soldiers? It is legendary, so you don't want to run too many. Interesting point. Does this go on the list? This is an automatic include in one deck for sure, and probably in a few others as we go. So I guess if we're going on the list of this definitely gets played, like we, you know, on day 1 could throw this in a deck, this goes on the list. And I'll even put Adeline on the list. Adeline, I think it's interesting that Historic Brawl is the way it is, because on ranked ladder, everybody spams like mono red and Soldiers, right, to get to Mythic. And in Historic Brawl, you would think that the same dynamics would be at play, because you can just win a million games with Adeline and Ragavan, or Adeline and Chandra, right? But people don't spam Adeline. Like, I think I went something like 15-1 with Adeline in 40 minutes, and people just don't, I never play against it. So the dynamics are just all some kind of different in Historic Brawl, and it's just kind of interesting. Fog on the Borrow Downs. This is a 3 mana, 2 and a white enchantment aura common enchant creature. Enchanted creature is a spirit and can't attack or block. Well, good job. You made it a spirit and then it did nothing. Okay. Forge anew. 2 and a white, 3 mana for a rare enchantment. When this enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime you can cast an instant. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of your first equip ability you activate during each of your turns. Well, we know Forge of New is going to go right into the equipment decks. I don't put cards that are like, this makes equipment good on the list, because then equipment still doesn't usually end up good. And it is still 3 mana, which is a big chunk of your turn. And you have to have an equipment card in the graveyard to get actual value. But I could see Forge Anew getting some historic play for a Colossus Hammer deck. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm still not going to list these cards that are just like, look, equipment good. I'm not sold. I'm just not sold. Frodo, Soren's Bane, 1 white for a 1/2 legendary creature halfling citizen. For Orzhov hybrids, Frodo, if it's a citizen, no, it is a citizen. Wait, if Frodo is a citizen, which it shows up as a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout with base power and toughness 2/3 and lifelink. Okay, then black. If Frodo is a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue with whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. If the ring has tempted you 4 more times this game, otherwise the ring tempts you. So just Orzhov color identity, a straight up you lose the game clause written into a potential commander. The mana base is tough. I mean, so I spent this week building this for Commander. In Commander, you can play, I think it's either 6 or 8 fetch lands along with City of Brass, Mana Confluence, all those things to build a mana base that lets you turn 1 Frodo, turn 2 level up, turn 3 level up, right? But we do not have that in Historic Brawl. In fact, 2-color mana bases suck a good amount of the time. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs, Zarto83. So you're going to have to find ways for the ring to tempt you, which might mean playing some mediocre cards. There's a lot of cards that let the ring tempt you, but most of them aren't 1v1 competitive. I will say this about Frodo, though. In a 4-player game, you might get away with the first ring kill, but then the other players at the table are going to do everything they can to defeat you and kill your commander. In 1v1, you get the luxury of playing something like a Voltron Protect the Queen style of approach. You're in black and white, so you can run a ton of Thoughtseize effects and a ton of God's Willing effects to keep Frodo alive. Then you just manage the board, level up, manage the board, level up, and then the countdown begins playing the subgame of the tempting ring, eventually killing them. I have a weird feeling that this card is just going to end up not doing as much as I want it to do. Like, by the time you do all that, maybe the opponent's already closing in on death, and it's not like you actually gain a ton from keeping this alive other than a few temptations of the ring until you actually win the game. So only like the last hit really matters. So my prediction is this will be a very mediocre to bad Historic Brawl commander, but it might be a very interesting commander. So for me, Frodo does not make the list. Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about Tempting of the Ring yet. Where can I find it? I've got the actual card lying over here somewhere. What do I Google to find the Tempted by the Ring? Nope, not in the magic search, that's for sure. This is a risky Google search, for sure. Tempted by the Ring MTG. Why are they showing me videos? I just want images. There we go. So can't see that at all. Good, just the way I like it. The ring tempts you. As the ring tempts you, you get an emblem named the Ring if you don't have one. Then your emblem gains the next ability, and you choose a creature you control to become or remain your ring bearer. And when the ring can tempt you, even if you don't control a creature, the ring gains its abilities in order from top to bottom. Once it has an ability, it has it for the rest of the game. Each time the ring tempts you, you must choose a creature. If you control one, each player can have only one emblem named the Ring and only one ring bearer at a time. And then this is the other bits that we need. Nope. Thank you, TCG player. Hashtag not sponsored. Go away. All right. So when the temptation happens, what happens is you get this emblem, which is the Ring, and it gains these abilities. And it says your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. The fact that your ring bearer becomes legendary is why the Boromir combo goes on and on and on. Then the next part is whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card, get a little Rafine action. And then whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at the end of combat. So it's kind of interesting that the first level makes the ring bearer difficult to block, and then the third level makes it so if it does get blocked, it's a trade. And then the last ability is whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. It's, you know, fine. It's going to be a key part of several abilities here. It is kind of like, I would describe it as a dungeon. It's its own dungeon, and the payoff is okay. It's reasonable, you know. It does the thing. It helps end games, but I don't think the payoff alone is completely worth it. And it feels like you're gonna build your whole deck around getting Frodo to level 4 just to have something bad happen. But we'll see. This is one that I want to play, but I don't think that'll be it. All right. Gandalf the White. 3 white, 5 total mana, mythic avatar wizard, 4/5 flash. You may cast legendary spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. If a legendary permanent or an artifact entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So what we have is a little bit of that Panharmonicon action, but at flash speed. It's 5 mana. The 4/5 body is decent size for a 5 mana flash. This card is the one I've spent the most time building with for Commander. I have 100% been working on a Commander deck with Gandalf the White that I will probably get to play tonight and try to make the good. So that's exciting for those of you who are excited about the Commander show. I'm trying to move my alert box because I don't like the position, but it's not cooperating. I think I have it locked. There we go. No, it's a professional stream, okay? Some things you just can't be ready for until they happen. All right. Anyway, Gandalf the White. Think about the leaving the battlefield as much as the entering battlefield, because I think that where this card wants to live and what it wants to do, I think that you want to do the Scrap Trawler, Oswald Fiddlebender combo stuff. And in Historic Brawl, you know what that means. It's flashy Paradox Engine win con. You can do a bunch of other things. There's a lot of like Artifact Blink and Teleportation Circle that you can do. And you can also go legendary themed. You can play a ton of legends, although in mono white there aren't that many if you're going Historic Brawl. But no, I like the artifact combo-y nature of the deck. I also like that it has kind of a decent like flash, hard to see it coming type game plan. So I'm 100% into Gandalf the White. I am really excited to play it. I do feel a need to kind of pour one out. Some F's in the chat. We didn't get a blue-white Gandalf. And after like 4 years of Croakies, Mistman, and then the adopted vocab here on Twitch, you know, kind of being like those blue-white, basically Teferi Hero of Dominaria decks, calling them Gandalfs. Gandalf turned out to not to be a blue-red wizard or a mono-blue wizard or a mono-white wizard, but actually not a blue-white wizard. So maybe in Alchemy or Historic we build like a blue and white Gandalf powered control deck. What could we flash in Historic with this? Flashy Urza's Ruinous Blast seems really fun. I don't know. We shall see. But yay for Gandalf the White. Gandalf the White goes on, you guessed it, the list. This is the first one that's on the list that it's like, I want this to be my Commander. Hobbit Sting is 1 and a white for an instant that is common, and it deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of creatures you control plus the number of food you control. Landroval is that new vehicle coming out of them Jeep makers. The new Jeep Land Roval coming this fall. Landroval. Horizon Witness. This is a 5 mana legendary 3/4, 4 and a white Flying uncommon. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, target tracking creature without flying gains flying. Woo, limited, yeah. Land Roval. Lost to Legend is a white instant at uncommon, and it says put target non-land historic permanent into its owner's library 4th from the top. And a little reminder text on there. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. Wow. So right there, it hits all the commanders, because nothing can be a commander without being legendary. In Historic Brawl, in Commander itself, everything that is a commander can be lost to legend. Man, can you imagine? They changed the commander rules a few years ago that you can put something in the command zone, but it used to be what they call the tuck rule, where if you put it in the library, they don't get the option to send it to command zone. This card would have been so insanely busted. As it is, they can choose to send their thing to the command zone, but in Historic Brawl specifically in Historic Brawl, like, this card is the whole format of Historic Brawl, I've been saying this for a while, is about killing, countering, and removing the commander over and over and over again. And this card is really good for that. Like, they're not going to let that go back in the library, probably not. And then if they do, you punish them with some shuffle effect and they're ruined. So you think, is 2 mana destroy a commander playable? So there's kind of some precedent for that. Black has a number of good spot removal spells, but one that they could be playing is Price of Fame, which destroys target legendary creature, and then you surveil 2. This card isn't played that much, Price of Fame, so it tells you that's a little bit limited. I think the fact that you hit artifacts too, though, that's the other important part of Historic Brawl, is the ramping, and some artifacts in particular see a ton of play because every deck usually needs to build in some amount of ramp. This hits those things. Not that worried about the saga because they get value, but who knows. I think in mono white decks this sees play. I would hope that outside of mono white, you have better options starting at 2 mana. I mean, so probably just in mono white. And that even then, I'm not positive that this is what you want, because there's enough other things that can happen in a game that make Lost to Legend, you know, the card in your hand, you're not that happy about it. So yeah, I think this sees some play in mono white and not too much everywhere else. I think it's fine. The fact that it also can target any permanent, if the opponent plays a legendary land and you hit the legendary land, like Joe the Fish is pointing out, that's kind of that's kind of beautiful. So in Alchemy, like if the opponent's playing the like legendary lands in Rafine type Oops All Legends deck and you Stone Rain them, that's pretty fun too. I mean, it hit everything out of the Rafine deck, right? Oh, it does say non-land right there. Guys, this is the downside of Twitch chat. This is the downside. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, the best minds on the internet have been assembled for this. Nimble Hobbit. 1 and a white for a 1/3 halfling peasant. Whenever it attacks, you may sack a food, tap a thing, whatever. Now for wrath! Now for ruin! 3 and a white sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. They gain vigilance until end of turn and the ring tempts you. Captains of the West came at last to the challenge of the Black Gate and the might of Mordor. And the Red Dawn! Death! Ah! And we all go die. It's great. Good times. Protector of Gondor is 3 and a white for a 3/3. When Protector of Gondor enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human coach. Yeah, okay. Reprieve. 1 and a white instant uncommon. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. I did a whole video about this card. It's probably still on the channel a little ways back there. White Remand is what people will generally shorthand it as. Does it go in every deck? Does it go in every single Historic Brawl deck? Does it go in Alchemy decks? Does it get played in Historic decks that are white without blue? Yeah, I think it can. I mean, those who didn't live through the Remand times don't know, but this is a This is a format that this is an environment for standard that recently banned Divide by Zero, and Alchemy is standard plus. And yeah, white with stack interaction is really important because there's a lot of white decks right now that would be interesting, except for the fact that they just can't handle big spells that resolve. So yeah, the list. Reprieve goes on the list for pretty much every white deck. See, I could probably just leave the list. The list can hang out, right? You guys are down with sharing some space with the list? Now I can just do this instead of dragging it. Look at that. The technology. Rosy Cotton of South Lane is 3 mana for 2 and a white, 1/1, halfling peasant, uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, create food. Whenever you create a token, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control other than Rosy. I can see this being a pretty cool card that some people would very much want in decks here or there. All kinds of token decks, adding all kinds of counters to all kinds of things. If it were 2 mana, I think it would be 100% awesome. At 3 mana, it's a bit expensive. I don't think it will see a ton of like historic brawl, somewhat competitive play. I don't think it's a fabulous commander, but I do think it goes into a number of commander decks. The commanders will be very happy with Rosy Cotton of South Lane, both the food commanders and the token commanders. Samwise the Stout-Hearted is 1 and a white for a 2/1 flash legendary halfling peasant uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, return it to your hand, then the ring tempts you. So in Commander, you have this plus fetch land, which is kind of awesome. You just 2 mana, 2/1 flash that gets you a land. In Historic Brawl as well as in Historic, you can do things like turn 1 Esper Sentinel, opponent does a thing about it, and you get it back. And that's pretty nice. I don't know. This card is just all right to me, and it's definitely not a commander. I think it's good value and a decent card that we'll see play in some spots. It is permanent, which is kind of cool since it can be like a saga. If you think about Elspeth Conquers Death getting this back, and then this getting Elspeth Conquers Death back, that's sweet. And the ring tempts you each time, so you get a little extra value. I think this will be playable in a number of decks, but I don't think it's a staple. It's fine. It's fine. Second Breakfast is always fine. My God, look at all that food. 2 and a white, instant, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+1 until end of turn, create a food. Yay. Shire Sheriff, 1 and a white for a 2/2 vigilant halfling soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a token. When you do, exile target creature an opponent controls until Shire Sheriff leaves the battlefield. So you have to have a token, and as you can see, there's a lot of tokens going around in this set, but in general, I'm trying to think like like you lead on Ragavan and you sack your treasure and you exile something. I just think it's too risky, right? If you don't have the token, you have a grizzly bear with vigilance, and that's just not going to do that much. So it has a really high ceiling, but the floor, which I think is going to be the more common occurrence with this card, it's going to be a common occurrence quite a bit, is very low. So I don't think this card is very good. It is a soldier though, so if somehow we end up with a ton of tokens and we want to put this in soldiers, maybe it sees a niche play, but I doubt it. Slip on the Ring, 1 and a white instant common, exile target creature you own, then return to the battlefield under your control. The ring tempts you. A little bit of blink, a little bit of ring tempting you. You know Yorian loves it. And also you can exile a creature you own. So if the opponent yoinks your creature, you can get it back, Charming Prince style with Slip on the Ring. Might see some niche play. Soldier of the Grey Host is 3 and a white for a flash 2/2 flying spirit soldier. And when it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Stalwarts of Osgiliath. Osgiliath? Stalwarts of Osgiliath. 4 and a white, 4/3, human soldier, common. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. When you draw your second card each turn, put a counter on it. Limited stuff be limited. Tail of the Tinuvial. 3 and a white saga. When target creature you control in chapter 1 gains indestructible for as long as you control this thing. Chapter 2, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, reanimation station. Chapter 3, up to 2 target creatures you control each gain lifelink till end of turn. This is not a bad saga, but I think it's right to be an uncommon because I don't think it's good enough for constructed competitive play. That's it. It's good limited saga, I would say. Took Reaper, 1 and a white, 2/1. When it dies, the ring tempts you. Okay, maybe we need to be tempted more. War of the Last Alliance, 3 and a white, rare. Chapters 1 and 2 are the same. Search your library for a legendary creature card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. And then chapter 3, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. So right there, it draws 2 legendary creatures. There's probably decks that would love that. I mean, you can go get like your Kogla, the Ape Titan, and you can go get Koma, the Cosmos Serpent in some Bant deck and just go to town, right? But there's also probably various combos that you can assemble. This can get you Faramir so that you can, or Boromir rather, so that you can combine with the Radadrobic. Like you could just get Radadrobic and Boromir with just this card. You can get Bruna and Gisela, so you can have both sides of that. So yeah, this is a cool little glue card. I think that this will see play in a number of decks. I think if it were 5 mana, it would be too much. 4 mana, it might actually see some play. This is a solid card for specific types of decks. I would almost list this card because that's how much I like a tutor 2 things and build cool combos with legendary creatures, but I don't think it's quite that good. Westfold Rider is 1 and a white for a 3/1 human knight common. Sacrifice it to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Activate as a sorcery. Is this good? You have a proactive human knight, so humans and knights, as well as white aggressive decks, could use it. You can't sacrifice it at instant speed, which is a big downside. But the fact that you can just play this out and start swinging, and they don't want to play like a good artifact or enchantment, like you play this on turn 2 and they play their mana rock, right? And you untap and you smack them for 3 and you blow up the mana rock, investing no mana. That's really good. I think this is a good card. I don't think it's a great card. Is it worse than Cathar Commando? In some instances, but not in all of them. Like, one of the problems with Cathar Commando is you don't always want to invest that mana. So I can see this card seeing a decent amount of play. Knights deck for sure. Radic for sure. Radic's always looking for good knights that come down early. And this will go there for sure. But other than that, maybe. You cannot pass! 1 white, instant, uncommon, destroy target creature that blocked or was blocked by a legendary creature this turn. Maybe in an aggressive deck, a go wide token deck, this gets some play. All right, before we do blue, I need to run for the beverage so that my voice doesn't wear out. So chat, you're going to your homework is to read and fully analyze these cards and let me know if I should talk about any of them. I'll be right back. List currently for reference. Told you it was quick. So, clock check. Shard, thanks for the 72 months. Not distracting at all. And thank also to Luke and for all the subs today. All right, Arwen's gift. By the way, I have to speed up or there's going to be like a 6-hour cast. So let's see. Arwen's gift, spell cost 1 less, 2 legendary, scry 2, draw 2. Nope. The Bath Song. Saga. The story of the Bath Song. 3 in a blue, draw 2, then discard. Chapter 1 and 2 are the same, so you see 4 cards from this. That's pretty interesting. And then shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library, add blue. I just don't want to tap out for this, but in Historic Brawl I don't tap out for this, but Tom Bombadil needs sagas, so might be played. Bewitching Leechcraft, 1 in a blue, enchantment aura, enchant creature, enters the battlefield, tap enchant creature. Enchant creature has, if this creature would untap during your untap step, remove a counter from it instead. If you do untap it, okay. I don't understand. Moving on. Bill Fernie Bree Swindler is 1 in a blue, uncommon 2/1, human rogue. When it becomes blocked, choose 1, create a treasure token. Or target opponent gains control of target horse you control. If they do, remove this from combat and create 3 treasures. So horse trader? Some kind of a horse swindler? Well, I mean, if he's your commander, he's dead. If he's not your commander, he's dead. Like, he's a 2/1. Bill can give away Bill. No. Birthday Escape, 1 blue, draw a card, then the ring tempts you as a sorcery. There are still decks trying to fill out the 1 mana, do a thing like Spellslinger effect, and this will see play in those. It will go into every Stormkiln Artist, Is It or More Colors type deck, Kaikar, all of those kind of things. It might even go, yeah. This will actually see play just because we don't have enough cards that for 1 mana draw a card. Born Upon a Wind is 1 in a blue, instant rare. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash and draw a card. So Quicken, but 2 mana, because apparently Quicken was too good. I don't think we need 2 mana Quicken. This card might see some niche play somewhere, but I don't think that this is like that. I don't think most decks will need a card like this ever. Captain of Umbar, 2 in a blue for a 2/3 human pirate, and for 1 and a tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Nope. Council's Deliberation, 1 in a blue instant, draw a card. Whenever you scry, if you control an island, you may exile this from your graveyard. If you do, draw a card. So it's kind of like a 2 mana draw 2 if you scry someday. If your commander in Historic Brawl says scry on it, then you play this card. Otherwise, probably not. Just play something better. Or just play something better in general. Deceive the Messenger, 1 blue instant, target creature gets -3/-0, amass orcs 1. See, this is why like formats like Historic Brawl are cool, because some cards are just not that great, but there's just like one home for it. And the home for this card is, chat, any guesses? Any guesses? If anybody names it right in 5 seconds, you are a true disciple of the dojo. The answer is Orvar is not bad. I actually didn't think of Orvar. I don't know if it's actually Orvar. Orvar's okay. No, the answer is a Luna. A Luna Apex of Wishes, because for 1 mana you make your little token and then you mutate a Luna onto it, and you have to have no creatures in your deck, and you need these little token makers. No, like, yeah, this just goes in a Luna. Yeah, on your end step, I'll cast this, amass orcs 1, I'll untap, I mutate, I get omniscience, I go off, and it just needs like 2 or 3 more of these type of effects. Beautiful. Dreadful as the Storm, 2 in a blue instant. Target creature has base power and toughness 5/5. Ring tempts you. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, 2 in a blue 3/2. Legendary Elf Noble. When this or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time it's resolved, the ring tempts you. Doesn't seem very exciting as a commander. Doesn't seem like a wonderful include either. You have to play a lot of creatures and it's blue. Doesn't make sense to me. Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, 3 and a blue, flash, 2/4. Avatar Wizard. You may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Whee! Whenever the ring tempts you, you can choose a creature other than Gandalf. As your ring bearer, you draw a card. So, I guess there's a bunch of blue ways for the ring to tempt you now, but when this card was first previewed, when it was revealed, I was looking into making a commander deck with it, and there were no ways revealed of how the ring tempts you in blue, and there still aren't, in my opinion, enough, which is too bad. So I don't think I'm running Gandalf, Friend of the Shire as a commander, and I can't think of the deck I really want to play him in, because then you have to run a lot of ring tempts you effects to pay it off, and you need other creatures. It's definitely the uncommon Gandalf for a reason. Just some friendly Gandalf who does fireworks. It's like a clown for a birthday party. Nobody cares. Glorious Gale is 1 and a blue instant. Counter target creature spell. If it was legendary, the ring tempts you. This is Power Crept Essence Scatter, right? So if it just if you hit the commander, you get a little kickback with the ring tempting you, and otherwise it's just Essence Scatter. Wow, there you go. I mean, that is a playable card. I haven't run Essence Scatter in a long time, though, to be honest, in Historic Brawl. It still sees some play every now and then in Standard. It got pushed out of Standard pretty hard by Wedding Announcement and Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and it hasn't really come back even after Fable got banned. So yeah, I'm not really high on having Essence Scatter, even with some upside, but it exists. If you have Essence Scatter in any of your Historic Brawl decks, you're going to need to craft this and replace it because you don't want to look like a freaking boomer. Goldberry River Daughter, 1 and a blue, 1/3 legendary nymph. Move a counter of each kind not on the River Daughter from another permanent you control to Goldberry, and then move 1 or more counters from Goldberry onto target permanent you control. If you do, draw a card. So, apparently Goldberry and Tom Bombadil are happy or something. They're doing fine. This is great with sagas, so that makes sense. And we'll get to Tom Bombadil, who is a saga-based commander. I can't see running this as the commander itself. Limiting yourself to blue, you don't have a lot of counters, so this goes in that deck, but it goes in the saga deck, and that's about it. Greyhaven's Navigator, 2 and a blue, 3/2 flash. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Whee! Hithane Knots? What? Hithlane Knots. Look, Boy Scouts know how to tie up a Smeagol. 1 and a blue, instant, tap a creature, scry 1, draw a card. That's a lot. Like, for a 2-mana instant at common, that's... The scry and the draw and the tap is all... That's kind of a lot. I'm trying to think... I wouldn't be surprised if this got a little bit of play somehow, somewhere. Still, it's probably not enough. It's a lot of, like, kind of those limited little value tricks that are good attached to other cards, but don't usually make a card playable on its own. Horses of Bruinen. 3 blue sorcery. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. Scry 1. The ring tempts you. Probably nuts and limited. Eorith of the Healing House. 2 and a blue, 1/4. Legendary human cleric. Tap it to untap a permanent. Tap it to untap 2 other legendary creatures. Whoa. Whoa. What can you do with this? Well, you can untap your key to the archive and just make a ton of mana. That's pretty good. That's not a bad start. If you spark double it, they can just untap each other forever. If you throw in like a Relic of Legends, that this can make endless mana. So yeah, oh, it also is, it can be a land, so it can untap legendary lands, so it can untap Nykthos. Ooh, all right. This one goes on the list. There must be busted things to do with this as a commander. And I mean, Paradox Engine is still a historic brawl card, so I do want to try that. Yeah, untap another target permanent. It can hit Nykthos. Yeah, it can get all kinds of things. It can do anything. It's wild. Can even be the opponent's stuff, so you can play a Willbreaker and steal their things. Yeah, there's got to be fun stuff we can get up to with this, for sure. Isolation at Orthanc. Why am I so bad at Orthanc? 3 and a blue instant. Put target creature on top of its owner's library, second from the top. Okay. Ithilien Kingfisher. 2 and a blue bird. 2/1. When it dies, draw a card. Flyer. Yay. Knights of Dol Amroth. 3 and a blue. 3/3. Whenever you draw your second card, put a counter on it. Whee! All right. Lorien Revealed. 3 blue. Draw 3 cards. Island Cycling 1. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So the kind of home I want for this, it's not like I really want to pay 5 mana to draw 3 cards at sorcery speed that often, but the fact that you can just turn it into an island is really nice. But like, I want to play it in Historic Brawl with the Inspector, Jacob Hawken, right? Because that's the kind of card where it's like you really want to be exiling these spells that then you cast for free to get this awesome value. So yeah, I want to play it in Jacob Hawken, Inspector, stuff like that. That's the perfect type home for this. There's some other spots where I might run a card like this. Cards that like cast spells from graveyard. Cycling this right into the graveyard is sweet. This with Arcane Bombardment is sweet, but it's fine. Again, it's island cycling that doesn't have to be basic, so you can go get, what is it? It's actually a good one. Mystic Sanctuary is a really good one that you can get with this that can then put a spell on top of your library. Lost Isle Calling is 1 in a blue rare enchantment. Whenever you scry, put a verse counter on this, and for 4 blue, exile this and draw a card for each verse counter on Lost Isle Calling. If it had 7 or more verse counters, take an extra turn. All right, so you want to scry a lot to pay this off. Elminster is my commander deck that loves scrying, that this will be great in. If there are probably other commanders, seeing how big the scry mechanic is, I'm sure there will be commanders that you want to play this with. This is going to be a perfectly fine card if your commander says scry on it, in which case you run this. I don't think you run it under any other circumstances, like literally none. Does your commander say scry? Run this. If it doesn't, do not. Menildor Swift Savior. Menildor. I think I've heard that one before. 3 in a blue, 3/3 flying bird soldier legend, and it deals combat damage to a player. Exile up to 1 target creature you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. It blinks when it hits people. Nimrodel Watcher. Maybe. 1 in a blue, 2/1 elf scout. Whenever you scry, this gets +1/+0. It can't be blocked. Okay. And it only triggers once a turn. Wow. Pelargir Survivor. 1 in a blue, 1/3 human. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Spend it only on an instant or sorcery. And then 5 in a blue, target player mills 3 cards. Just too slow and too limited, unfortunately. Press the enemy. 2 blue, instant, rare. Return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant or a sorcery spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. Free spells? All right, so the dream is the opponent casts big thing. You cast this. It bounces back to their hand. And then you cast a cool spell. You can also hit a permanent. That's okay. Well, that's not bad. As far as a bounce spell that also casts something, it's just so expensive. I think what I like most about it is that it hits uncounterable things. So if it's countering a spell, it's a bad rewind. If it is bouncing a spell that was uncounterable, or if it's bouncing something on the board that slipped through your counter spells, I don't know. This one's weird. It smells like a bulk rare that looks flashy to me. I am guessing it's not that. I'm guessing it's not as good as it looks. Cooler than it is. That is my guess. Rangers of Ithilien. 2 blue 3/3 vigilance human ranger rare. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of one creature with lesser power for as long as you control this and the ring tempts you. This seems really good. This can gain control of a lot of commanders. Oh yeah, like come here, Ragavan. This monkey is mine now. The fact that you get a body with it is cool. Of course, when this goes away, they get their thing back, so it'll probably be a removal target. But I think you really want to play this in something along the lines of Lagrella, a creature-based deck that maybe does a lot of blinking shenanigans. Obviously, Thassa, something like that. So this has some homes. This is a pretty good card. Those homes are kind of limited. There's only a few spots for it. It's not, I would not say it's anywhere near a staple. It's just kind of it's an all right addition to some of those decks. Saruman the White, 4 and a blue legendary creature avatar wizard, 4/4 ward 2. Whenever you cast your second spell, amass orcs 2. That's fine, but it's not worth 5 mana. The uncommon versions of these characters are generally bad. This is what I've learned so far. Saruman's Trickery, 1 blue. Counter target spell, amass orcs 1. It's another good card. It's another good card for a Luna. Anytime the amass is like tacked onto something kind of good, like we have in a Luna card. This is not that bad, actually. I mean, as far as like a cancel, you get a cancel and you get a 1/1. Is that the best cancel we have? Is that better than, say, an Absorb or a Sinister Sabotage? I think it actually is, because you just get something on the battlefield. This might be... Is this the best cancel? I love Disallow. Disallow is super flexible. Is this better than Disallow? I mean, think about it. Like, you counter a thing, you make a body, then the next turn you cast a Planeswalker, like, say, a Jace or something, and you have something to get in the way? This might be the best cancel. If you're going to play a 3-mana counter spell, if you're in mono blue, you play Archmage's Charm. If you're not in mono blue, I mean, I think you run this. This card, it seems really good to me. I'm going to leave it off the list, but it's trying. Like, I bet this goes in a number of decks, and it probably won't get adopted right away, but I think it goes in a number of decks. Scroll of Isildur. 2 and a blue for a rare. Chapter 1, gain control of up to 1 target artifact as long as you control this scroll and the ring tempts you. 3 mana, yoink an artifact? So like yoink an artifact rock? 2, tap up to 2 target creatures, put stun counters on each of them. Okay. Chapter 3, draw a card for each tapped creature target opponent controls. I think there's a reasonable chance you don't draw any cards from this. If you play it just to yoink an artifact, obviously the opponent's not going to put out creatures, but maybe that's good for you if they're not developing their board. This card is interesting. I mean, it has the potential of a draw to. It could be more than that if the opponent just raw attacks you anyway, right? Or if you have some other way to tap their creatures. I don't know. It doesn't feel great to me. Feels okay. Maybe I'm just looking down my nose at stun counters. Stun counters always make me roll my eyes a bit of like, that's a limited thing. Maybe I'm underestimating it. Also, the opponent has to have an artifact. If they play creature, and you play this, it does nothing the turn it comes down but the ring tempt you. And then their next turn they hit you, and the next turn you stun them, and the next turn you kept 2 things from hitting you, and you'll draw on the next turn. I don't know, man. It seems okay, and there will be some homes for it. I like the proliferate idea, and this will probably go in the Saga deck just to slow the opponent down. But I don't think it goes in any other decks on its own. Steals Rusko's Clock. I mean, that isn't the worst, but is it the best? You know? Wouldn't you rather just play something that counters the Rusko? Yeah, let's just move on. I don't think it's that good. I think it's a lot of medium that can fool you into thinking it's good. In Commander, stealing Soul Rings is nice. But Thieving Skydiver does it permanently. So, do people play enough of that? No. Soothing of Smeagol, 1 and a blue instant. Return target non-token creature to its owner's hand and the ring tempts you. Okay. I mean, if you're doing the ring tempty thing, you'll probably run that. Stern Scolding, 1 and a blue instant. Counter target creature spell with power or toughness 2 or less. Huh. It's very narrow, but 1-mana counter spells have to be, or they're busted. It counters Ragavan. It. I mean, I think in Historic Brawl I'm going to try this card, and that's because when you need it, you need it. Like, if you're playing Emery and you're against Ragavan, you have to mulligan until you hit something that does something about it. Now, obviously, you have to be on the play to hit it the first time, but maybe you have, like, a way to remove it or something. I mean, power or toughness 2 or less has got to be actually a lot of things, because it's not casting cost. Like, this hits Adeline. Adeline's power on the stack is 0. This hits Rafine. Like, those are important things to counter. Yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff that this tags. I want to go down like the list in Historic Brawl of the Hellq commanders. This hits Esika. Doesn't hit the Prismatic Bridge on the stack, though. It doesn't hit the Planeswalkers, obviously. It hits Kinnan, which is probably worth a lot. Hits Emoti. Emoti only has 1 toughness, but yeah, I guess you do need to counter Emoti a good amount just to slow him down. Yeah, I think that this card is good. I'm going to try it in several things. Does it go on the list? You know I love a 1-mana counter spell. I think there's enough out there. I really do. Like, I think for Historic Brawl, Stern Scolding goes on the list. It might go into a ton of decks. I think it makes the list. Fool of a Took. This is a serious journey, not a hobbit walking party. Throw yourself in next time, and then you will be no further nuisance. Now be quiet! I'm gonna try to remember that for when Twitch chat is bugging me. Storm of Saruman is 4 blue for a Ward 3 enchantment mythic. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, except the copy isn't legendary. You may choose new targets. Ward 3 on an enchantment like that is really good. It's like really, really good. That said, it's still probably just as much a meme as Thousand Year Storm, but people love those kind of cards. There will be some places to play this deck, but it's not in a pure Storm deck because it only copies the second spell. But yeah, I think some people will play this in some spots, but I think it's more for the Mirror March effect than it is because it's, you know, super good. Surrounded by Orcs is 3 and a blue for a sorcery that amasses Orcs 3, then target player mills X, where X is the amassed power. Yeah. Treason of Isengard, 2 and a blue sorcery. Put up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. a Mass Orcs 2. This also might go in a Luna. So many new cards for a Luna. Getting back instants or sorceries is powerful. This also goes in Tamiyo for sure. The Tamiyo that takes all the turns in Historic Brawl. It's a really cool deck, and of course naming your top card with Tamiyo gets it into your hand right away. So there's at least 2 really good homes for this. This is pretty cool. Did we get any remove battles cards? No, we did not. In fact, but that does bring me to something I want to mention about this set. There are no planeswalkers. There are no double-faced cards. The wordiest cards are sagas and some of these legendaries, like the one we're about to read. I like it. I gotta tell you, it feels more Magic the Gathering. This Lord of the Rings set to me feels more Magic the Gathering than some Magic the Gathering sets lately. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know, man. It feels old school in a way, even though it's new school. Am I alone on that one? I like it. I like it a lot. Aside from that stupid dungeon. Yeah, that's the only thing, right? The ring tempting you is the only mechanic that's kind of like a little callback to like energy in dungeons. All right, let's cover the Walker. Nope, let's not. Let's cover the Watcher in the Water. I've seen people talking about this card. I have not read this card yet, but my God, does it already look cool as hell. 5 mana for a 9/9 mythic legendary Kraken. The Watcher in the Water enters the battlefield tapped with 9 stun counters on it. Okay. Whenever you draw a card during an opponent's turn, create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. Whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. All right. For 5 mana, this comes out tapped and does nothing. 5 mana do actual nothing. From that point on, whenever you draw a card during the opponent's turn, you get a 1/1, and whenever the 1/1 dies, you stun an opponent's non-land permanent, and you remove a stun counter from the Kraken. People are excited about this? It's cool. So this is it, right? It says untap up to 1 target Kraken. But if you target this and it has a stun counter on it, it says a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, remove a stun counter. So you're not untapping this, you're removing a stun counter from it until the stun counters are gone. Now, it ticks down 1 every turn anyway, but it comes in with 9. Dude, 9 is so many. 9 is so many. If you play this on turn 5, you did literal nothing. Literal nothing. And then the next turn, if you cast like Think Twice, right? You make 2 things. Now you block the opponent's attackers. You tap 2 of their things and you remove 2 stun counters. You untap, you've removed 4 stun counters. If you untap with this and have any kind of card draw, instant card draw, which of course you're going to build your deck around, your position starts getting good really fast. That is the bright side. That is the bright side. Your position will start becoming good very, very quickly. This is a sweet commander. Like, I would love playing this in Commander, because look at me, I'm not a threat. This thing is going to do nothing for the next several turns, right? It's fine. But my goodness, it is... In Historic Brawl, this is bad, but it's the kind of bad I want to make good. So I will play it anyway, but it is not good. Yeah. Yep. If you untap with it and you have instant speed draw in your hand, the game starts becoming very interesting. So I want to play it, but I am surprised. The things I've seen people saying about this is how amazing it is. I think it will be fun in Commander. I think it will be a quest in Historic Brawl, a serious quest, but it is a cool card. It is a spider kraken. Like, that looks like a spider to me. It is so cool. All right. Willow Wind is 4 and a blue, so that's a limited card. Moving on. Black. We have made it to black in 1 hour and 15 minutes. We're just on pace for a beautiful 3-hour set review, maybe about the length of one of the movies. Bitter Downfall, 3 and a black instant, 3 less if it targets a creature that was dealt damage, destroy a creature, its controller loses 2 life. I mean, maybe in a pinger deck, but my first reaction is no. The Black Breath is 2 and a black sorcery. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1, and the ring tempts you. Only if we really care about ring tempting. Call of the Ring is 1 and a black enchantment rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. When you think of all the cards that say ring tempts you on them, and you think of the commanders that use the ring tempts you mechanic, compare them to Call of the Ring, where this, every upkeep, just for having this, the ring tempts you. Then, if you control any creature on that upkeep that you can make the ring bearer, you can pay 2 life and draw cards. This card is good. If you have a creature-based deck, you probably want to run this card, regardless of whether or not you particularly care about the ring, because you'll just be dishing out the ring bearer status and drawing cards and making your creatures better, because those ring bearer abilities are relevant and good for attacking. It's kind of Phyrexian Arena-ish. A few decks that come to mind right away is Gix. You would definitely play this in Gix. This would be a very, very sweet card in Gix. Yawgmoth. I think that you can play this in Yawgmoth. Those are both very nice. So you don't have to pay the 2 life either if you're falling behind. So yeah, Call of the Ring. Good card. Has a few decks that it's really going to enjoy being in. Now, if I have a commander that deals with the ring tempting me, I'm going to run, especially in Commander, the format, a whole bunch of tutors to go get this card, rather than run a whole bunch of bad cards that say the ring tempts me on them. I just want this card. This card doing it is going to do the job. Sirathungal Patrol, 4 and a black, 4/5 orc soldier. By the way, how'd I do on that one? Are you impressed? Are you impressed with my Sirathungal? Anyway, 1 and a tap, sacrifice another creature, draw a card, and create a food. Yay. Claim the Precious, 1 black sorcery, destroy target creature and the ring tempts you. Murder. Dunlin, why am I bad at this? Dunlin Creebane. What? Is this a word? It's not even a legend. It's not a name. What is this? Dunlin Creebane. 2 and a black, 1/1 flying bird horror. When it enters the battlefield, amass orcs 2. Easterling Vanguard is 1 and a black for a 2/1 human warrior. When it dies, amass orcs. Okay. More of those things. Bro, one of the most famous quotes. What? Oh, yeah. What's that, Strider? I don't look like a cloud. That was so bad. Stop. I'm not reading any more flavor text. Invoices. Gollum, Patient Plotter, is 1 and a black for a 3/1. When it leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you, and sacrifice a creature. Return this from your graveyard to your hand. Activate only as a sorcery. Yawgmoth and other sacrifice-based decks, 100%. I think you want to play this. I think so. Pretty good. It's fine. You know, it's totally fine. Yeah, there's sack decks where you definitely want this. It also doesn't trigger only once a turn. It's only 1 black to do it. So this with Pitiless Plunderer, and you need enough creatures or some kind of a token maker when things dies. Could be fun. Gollum's Bite is 1 black for an instant. Target creature gets -2/2 until end of turn. You can exile it from your graveyard to have the ring tempt you. So it's Defile, Power Crept, with the ability to have the ring tempt you. Might see some play somewhere, especially if you like the ring tempting. This isn't that bad. Gorebag of Minas Morgul. 1 and a black for a 2/2 Orc Soldier legend. Uncommon. Whenever a goblin or orc you control deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, create a treasure token or draw a card. I don't think it's a commander. It's in the wrong color for goblins, right? Maybe there's a black. No, there's a black red goblins combo deck in historic. So maybe in historic goblins this sees some play. Maybe there's some combo stuff here. I do wish it were Rakdos. Then it might be a cool commander, but maybe that was the problem. They were afraid of it being a cool commander. Still, having to sacrifice your goblins is sad. I don't know. It's kind of, it's rough. It's a rough one. It's a rough one for Gorbag. I can't see it. I can't see it as a commander. Maybe it does go in some kind of historic deck, but I can't see a commander for it in Historic Brawl. So, nope, don't think so. Gothmog Morgul Lieutenant is 3 and a black for a 3/3 human soldier uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, amass orcs 1. Creature tokens have death touch. Limited. Wormtongue, Grima Wormtongue, 2 and a black for a 1/4 human advisor. Opponents can't gain life. They reprinted Tainted Remedy on a body. Sacrifice another creature. Target player loses 1 life. If the sacrificed creature was legendary, amass orcs 2. Can be done at instant speed. That's important. It's not a very good sack outlet unless the card is legendary. That's kind of rough. That's pretty rough. That's not what you want to see. That is not what you want to see at all. I don't think that card's very good. The can't gain life thing in black is kind of cool. I can't imagine playing this as a commander, really. You could play it with a whole bunch of legendary creatures and sacrifice them all, but I can't see it as your commander. And I can't see it in the sacrifice decks because you just have better sack outlets, in my opinion. So I think the answer is no, not really over there. Next we have Grond, the Gatebreaker. Yeah. 3 and a black for a 5/5 vehicle. We got vehicles in the set, baby. Trample. As long as it's your turn and you control an army, Grond is an artifact creature. Oh, so if you have any army, Grond is just 4 mana 5/5 trample. That's still bad. I mean, there was a time where that would have been busted. Juzum Jin is sad somewhere, but no, that's not that good. Also, a legendary vehicle can't be your commander, so that's just sadness. That's just sad. All right. Haunt of the Dead Marshes is 1 black for a 1/1 Nightmare Elf. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. 2 and a black, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activate if you have a legendary creature. I mean, it's kind of cool to have something along the lines of a reassembling skeleton or gutter bones that also has an ETB and fits in the elf deck. But I just think that there's probably better elves you can run in the spot. I mean, maybe in a Yawgmoth type deck you run this, but even then, like gutter bones and cult conscripts, they're so much better. So I think this is just meh. Isildur's Fateful Strike is 2 black for a legendary instant. At rare, a legendary instant. You may cast a legendary instant only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. Destroy target creature. If its controller has more than 4 cards in hand, they exile cards from their hand equal to the difference. Oh, that gets somebody in Commander. Oh, wow. Wow. That really gets somebody in Commander. In Historic Brawl and other formats, I think it's just too expensive and you might not be able to cast it. I think it's a good Commander card. I don't think it fits into any other, any other formats. But get the Rhystic Study player with this. Get me with this. I am the player. You should be taking me out with this card. All right, Lash of the Balrog is 1 in a black sorcery. As an additional cost, sacrifice a creature or pay 4, so it's another one of those effects. Destroy target creature. It's worse. Most of the other effects, also like Annihilating Glare, Eaten Alive, they have a little extra upside, like they also hit Planeswalkers. But you can run this in Jadar, because Jadar loves these effects. Lobelia Sackville Baggins, 2 in a black. Legendary creature, Halfling Citizen, rare, 2/3 Flash Menace. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature card from an opponent's graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, then create X treasure tokens, where X is the exile card's power. Well, that's not bad. Much better in Commander. Probably bad everywhere else. But the fact that you can bring this in Commander, somebody else kills the big bad thing and you bring this in, exile it from their graveyard, and then also make a bunch of treasures, that seems pretty good. That seems pretty good. Probably I think it's a Commander card. I don't think it fits everywhere else. March from the Black Gate is 1 in a black enchantment when it enters the battlefield, and whenever an army you control attacks, amass Orcs 1. Okay, this comes down, it amasses 1. The next turn, it attacks, and then it's a 2/2, and then it attacks the next turn, it's a 3/3. Nah. Nope, too slow. Too slow for that kind of effect. It's no Luminar Gas Pirate. Mirkwood Bats is 3 in a black for a 2/3 flying bat. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. God, that is way too expensive for Historic Brawl and for other formats like that. This card is nuts in Commander. Commander is where you use like Academy Manufacturer and Anointed Procession or things like that, and you just make a billion tokens and the opponents just all die. This is a great Commander card. This is probably not a Historic Brawl card. You could throw it in something like a Yawgmoth deck, but I think it's, anytime I see 4 mana for this effect, I'm like, that's a bit too much. But, you know, Yawgmoth might enjoy it. Mordor Muster is 1 in a black, and it says you draw a card and lose 1 life. Okay, amass Orcs 1. So it's kind of a Dusk Legion Zealot in its own way, right? But it's not a creature, it's a sorcery. And there are a lot of things in black that like getting creatures out of the graveyard or count the creatures in your graveyard, where this is worse than a Dusk Legion Zealot. But if you're in the market for a Dusk Legion Zealot type effect, like I'd play this in Yawgmoth. Probably, why not? You just want to make a thing and draw a card. Mordor Trench Bucket is 2 in a black for a 1/4 defender. Wall. It's an artifact creature. Whenever you attack with 1 or more goblins or orcs, create a 2/1 construct token with flying named Boulder that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice it at the end of combat. Wow, they really figured out how to make a trebuchet. What's wrong with calling it a trench bucket? What's wrong with that? I like Trench Bucket. This card's bad. Moving on. Morgul Nightwound, 1 in a black aura, enchant creature. It gets -3/-0 and has, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile this creature unless you pay 2 life. Look, I'm the guy who called it Ass Pirate for years, and you guys thought that was funny. Now you have the Trench Bucket. And that's just what you have. You know what the Trench Bucket is for. If not, read some books about World War I or something. Watch 1918. Was it 1917 or 1918? I think it was called 1918. Now I'm being dumb. 1916. Just keep guessing. I'll get it right someday. Anyway, this card sucks too. Nasty End, 1 in a black instant. As an additional cost to cast this, sack a creature. Draw 2 cards. If the sacrificed creature was legendary, draw 3. Oh, that's good. That's good. Like the sack decks want this. 100%. 100%. The sack decks want this. Is this what happened to Saruman? Because in the movies, he just never came out of his tower. Unless you watch the extended version, in which case something else happened. And that's the end of that. A nasty. Nope, it's Sam. Oh God, I can't do Sam. That's the end of that. A nasty end for Saruman, and I wish I needn't have seen it. But it's a good riddance. It's so bad. I can't do it. I'm so bad. Nazgul, you can have 9 of these. The ring tempts you when it enters the battlefield as Death Touch. I'll play it in my ring tempts me decks, but it's not good enough. It does put a +1/+1 counter whenever the ring tempts you on each wraith you control, which can be pretty cool. Oath of the Grey Host is 3 and a black saga. Chapter 1 is you and target opponent each create a food. Target opponent gets a food. I don't like it. 2, each opponent loses 3 life. Ha! Okay, so they break even. Create a treasure. Okay. And then 3 is create 3 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. I'm sorry, was it busted if they were untapped? What the hell is this card? Oh my God, I hate it. 1 ring to rule them all. 2 black rare saga. Chapter 1, the ring tempts you. Then each player mills cards equal to your ring bearer's power. Okay, so like on curve, that's probably like 2 or 3 cards. Chapter 2, destroy all non-legendary creatures. Not bad. Chapter 3, each opponent loses 1 life for each creature card in that player's graveyard. The destroy all non-legendary creatures is fine. In formats like Historic Brawl and Commander, though, the opponents see this and they play their commanders and you don't blow those up. So that's kind of sad. The fact that the ring tempts you, like you get to make something legendary, because that's how ring tempting works. So maybe a few of your things survive. Still, I would expect a saga like this to be busted. I don't think this is very good. I don't know. Orcish Bowmasters, 1 and a black. Flash. 1/1. Rare. When it enters the battlefield and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, this deals 1 damage to any target. Then amass Orcs 1. Wait, what? I mean, when it enters the battlefield, whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw on their draw steps. Bad with Narset. Just kidding, this card's insane, right? Of course the opponents are going to try to draw cards, and then you can flash this in response. And if they cast a Seagate Restoration, they take a whole bunch of damage. They probably just die and you amass Orcs. It's 1 damage for each card, right? It's not 1 or more. Yeah, if they play a draw 3, they 3 damage spread out among any targets and amass Orcs 1 3 times. So this is cracked in Commander. Is this good in Historic Brawl? I don't know. When I think about Historic Brawl, there aren't a lot of decks that sit there drawing a bunch of cards. They rely on commanders for card advantage. Like this against Korvold is really good, for example. But that's about like Atraxa doesn't care, Itali doesn't care, Emoti doesn't care. Like they don't need to draw extra cards to just pummel you. So yeah, I don't think I think this is a great Commander card. I think this is an okay Historic Brawl card. I'll probably run it in a few spots and see how it does, but I wouldn't be surprised if I just end up cutting it. Like there's drafting and conjuring because of alchemy. There's so many ways to get cards without drawing cards that I don't think the Bowmasters is good in Historic Brawl. I think it is very good. I think it is very good in Commander. I think it is okay and super situational in Historic Brawl. I can see this just being the worst card in your deck in a lot of matchups of Historic Brawl. It's like, oh, I flash in my Orcish Bowmasters, and the opponent's like, Emergent Ultimatum. I guess I will get extra turns instead of Seagate Restoration. and good job. You know, you did it. So yeah, I don't think the Bowmasters is great for Historic Brawl. I think it's okay. This is a busted commander card. This goes in every black commander deck I have. So in a way this could go on the list because it's like, I think it's straight busted in commander. You think about a wheel in commander like Windfall and it's just insane. But since my primary focus is Historic Brawl for these cards, that's the main thing I'm thinking about. I just don't think I'll play this that much in those decks. Good in Urtai though, you know, force them to draw with Urtai. You know, Time Twister. Yeah, commit. We got commit. Yeah, okay. Urtai with Orcish Bowmasters is a little poggies, but I'd rather have a Narset than an Orcish Bowmasters, that's for sure. Orcish Medicine is 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gains lifelink or indestructible till end of turn. Amass Orcs 1. This is okay. Sam's Desperate Rescue is a black. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. The ring tempts you. Okay. Sauron the Necromancer, 3 black, 4/4 menace, rare, avatar horror. When it attacks, exile target creature card from a graveyard, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy, except it's a 3/3 wraith with menace. At the beginning of the next end step, exile the token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. For Historic Brawl, this is too slow and just a removal target. Doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, just dies or gets countered. In Commander, this looks fun. I would play this in Commander, but I would not play this in Historic Brawl anywhere. But it's from your graveyard, which is kind of a bummer. I would love to make wraiths out of the opponent's creatures. So I don't know. I'm very underwhelmed by Sauron the Necromancer. Shadow of the Enemy is 3 black sorcery mythic. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You may cast spells from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast them. Whoa. Whoa, that art is sweet. It's only creature cards. If it were exile their whole graveyard and you may cast it, this card would be poggies. I think only creatures ruins it quite a bit, because that means there's a chance you have it in your deck and it's just in a terrible matchup that doesn't do anything. You can target your own graveyard to basically redraw all the creature cards in your graveyard. I'm trying to think of a deck where that's worth it. I don't know, man. I don't see it. I'm not sure what deck would play it. If you can think of one, spam it, but I don't see it. As Frodo put on the ring, Sauron was suddenly aware of the magnitude of his own folly. His wrath blazed in consuming flame, but his fear rose like black smoke. Brrr. All right. Shelob's Ambush, 1 black instant common. Target creature gets +1/+2, gains death touch, make a food. That's a lot for 1 mana at instant speed, right? The buff means your creature will probably live the combat. The death touch means it will definitely kill the opponent's creature, be a trait at worst, and you get a food. It's good with the cat, but of course cat is nerfed in Historic Brawl, can't block. That is not bad for a combat trick. I wouldn't be surprised if there was somewhere that wants it, just, you know, getting like a food for that cheap along with an effect. Snarling Warg is 3 and a black for a 3/4 menace as long as you control a goblin or an orc. The Warg is +1/+0. Yeah. Torment of Gollum, 3 and a black. Target opponent reveals a hand. You choose a non-land for only 4 mana. Amass Orcs 2. Troll of Khazad-dûm, 5 and a black. Troll, 6/5. It can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Mega Menace. Swamp Cycling 1. Ooh, okay. Well, that'll get more play. A great cave troll, I think. There is no hope of escape that way. I mean, Gandalf, do you think or do you know? What help is I think in a time like this? It's either a cave troll or it's not, bro. Anyway, we're gonna swamp cycle this a lot, and it's in black, so getting creatures back from the graveyard with something like a Gix's command is fine. So this is very playable in some decks. Urukai Berserker, 2 and a black, 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, ring tempts you. Yeah. Voracious Fell Beast, 4 black, 4/4 flying Drake Beast. Whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a food token for each creature sacrificed this way. I can see this getting played in Commander. You gain 9 life. Like, you get 3 foods and each opponent sacks a thing. Of course, if you're going to do that, isn't there Taste of Death that for 6 mana does it? But this is on a body. Being on a body matters. You can reanimate it. You can attack with it and block with it. You can put a sword on it. I might play this in Commander. There's some decks I'd play this in, but I will not be playing it in Historic Brawl. Witch King of Angmar, 3 black, legendary creature, Wraith Noble, mythic, 5/3 flyer. 5 mana for a 5/3 flyer. Whenever one or more creatures deal damage to you, each opponent sacks a creature that dealt combat damage to you. Whoa, the ring tempts you. Oh, that's a lot of upside. Discard a card, it gains indestructible until end of turn and tap it. So it has a little Immersturm Predator attached to it. I mean, I might play this as a commander just to troll anybody who dares attack. Like, this seems really good for against a number of decks. Yeah, this might be a fun commander to build. I don't think it's anywhere near the best mono black commander. You can play it with some madness cards to get benefit off the discard outlet. The ring tempting you is fine. You don't have to build around the ring tempting you for that to be an okay benefit, because this card is just kind of around all the time from the indestructible. Yeah, this card makes it really hard to attack you. This is probably better in Commander as well, where deterrents work really well, because opponents who are just looking for someone to attack will just attack somebody else, which is great. So maybe this is a better Commander card than anything else, and maybe it's 99 because you can do a lot more with it if you have other colors. But I'll still play this a little. I think it's fine. Not being able to be your ring bearer is weird. Why can't it be your ring bearer? It can, right? It can be your ring bearer. Ring tempts you. You can choose this. It's fine. All right. Red. Short break. Breaks are for the weak. All right. We're on a mission. I've got to get out of here. All right. Red has Battlescar Goblin. 1 in a red for a 2/2 Goblin Warrior. And when it becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to each creature blocking it. Book of Mazarbul. Mazarbul? 2 in a red. Amass Orcs 1 is chapter 1. Amass Orcs 2 is chapter 2. And chapter 3 is creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. So by the time it's attacking, you have a 3 mana 3/3, and the next turn you get +1/+0 and menace. Breaking the Fellowship. No! 1 in a red sorcery. Target creature an opponent controls deals damage equal to its power to another creature that player controls, tempts you. Yep, one of those effects, limited. Cast into the Fire. 1 in a red instant. Choose 1 damage to up to 2 target creatures, or exile target artifact. Yeah, probably not playable. Display of Power, 1 red instant. This spell can't be copied. That's always a good start. Nothing bad ever happened after that line of text. Copy any number of instant or sorcery spells. You may choose new targets for the copies. Well, that goes on a stack. Any number? Yeah, okay. That could be silly. Eomer, Marshal of Rohan, is 2 red for a 4/4 haste human knight rare. Whenever 1 or more other attacking legendary creatures you control die, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. So if you have a sack outlet and you have legendary creatures, you can create more attack steps. Or if all your creatures are legendary and the opponent blocks your Ragavan with their Atraxa, you get another attack step to run into the I mean, this doesn't strike me as great. Maybe it gets some, maybe you play it in Winota just because it's a human you can hit with a really cool attack that creates an extra combat phase if they mess up somehow, you know, or block something they want to block. That's about all I can think of. Aomir of Riddermark is 4 and a red, 5/4 haste human knight. Whenever it attacks, if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier token. This art is sweet. Why did they make this dude suck? Couldn't it at least be for like each opponent so it would be playable in Commander? Or couldn't it be like tapped and attacking or something? This is so bad. This is so bad. This card is horrible. It's so sad. All right. Erebor Flamesmith, 1 and a red, 2/1. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, 1 damage to each opponent. Goes in Storm decks, where, you know, you cast a bunch of spells and win. Maybe also an Ob Nixilis, but instant or sorcery, maybe not. I'm thinking the new one, the newest Ob. Erkenbrand, Lord of Westfold. 3 and a red, 3/3, legend. When it enters the battlefield or another human enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+0. Yay. Fall of Caer Andros. Caer Andros? 2 and a red, enchantment rare. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, amass Orcs X, where X is the excess damage. And then for 8 mana, it deals 7 damage to target creature. That's too expensive. I think most of the time you're playing this and doing nothing, and then the rest of your deck has to do the heavy lifting to make it worth it later, which is very much a commander card and very much not a historic brawl card. Fear Fire Foes. X red sorcery. Damage can't be prevented. This deals X damage to target creature and 1 damage to each other creature with the same controller. So you fireball a thing, and then everything else around it takes 1. I don't think that's good enough. Fiery Inscription is 2 and a red, enchantment. Very cool art. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Nice. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Okay. A gutter snipe on an enchantment with the ring tempts you attached. That is definitely going to be a commander card. Maybe there's a burn deck or a storm deck that want to run this. Like, I think you run this in an Urabrask, right? Yeah, you run this in Urabrask. The new Urabrask. Maybe Bergie, probably not. Maybe Bergie, maybe. But definitely an Urabrask. So there are some homes for this. I still think it's okay. I don't think it's like makes those decks. It just makes them a little closer to good. Fire of Orthanc. Fire of Orthanc. 3 and a red, sorcery. Destroy target artifact or land. Land destruction! Creatures without flying can't block. I think that's a reprint of another card. I guess it's Demolish combined with Tectonic Rift, maybe, or something. You guys will tell me once you catch up. By the way, you should probably refresh the stream because you guys are falling behind the content. The chat is getting exhausted, but the streamer carries on. Foray of Orcs, 3 and a red, sorcery. Amass Orcs 2. When you do, this deals X damage to target creature and opponent controls, or X is the amassed army's power. Okay. Gimli, Counter of Kills, 3 and a red for a 4/3 trample dwarf warrior. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, this deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. Very good commander card. Probably not a good historic brawl card. Too expensive. Gimli's Axe is 2 and a red for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+0. As long as equipped creature is legendary as menace, the equip cost is 2. Yeah. Gimli's Fury, 1 and a red, instant. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. If it's legendary, it also gains trample until end of turn. Not bad, but still a combat trick. But my axe. There, I did it. Gloin? Dwarf Emissary? 2 in a red, 3/3. Rare. Dwarf Advisor. Whenever you cast a historic spell, create a treasure token. Uh-oh. This ability triggers only once a turn, thank God. Sacrifice 3 treasure to goad target creature. Well, I guess they have to build goad for historic because they just removed it from all the Baldur's Gate cards. But they did say that they were going to introduce all these cards as written to Arena. Definitely goes in Magda. It has a home. I think it has a few homes. Any of the artifact kind of based decks. I mean, even in like an equipment deck, all of those are historic. Just getting a treasure is good. I think this has a lot of homes, even though the bottom ability is useless in Historic Brawl. By the way, look how bored this person is. So rude. This guy's so into his story. This person over here is not even, does not care. Goblin Fire Leaper, 1 in a red, 1/1 warrior, +1/+0 for 1 in a red. When it dies, it deals damage equals to its power to a creature. Okay, limited. Grishnok, Brash Instigator, 2 in a red, 1/1 goblin soldier. When it enters the battlefield, amass orcs 2. When you do, until end of turn, gain control of target non-legendary creature opponent controls. The power less than or equal to the amassed army's power. Untap it, it gains haste. I mean, it's a goblin, but it's amassing orcs. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if this fits into the goblin decks. Like, I you know, there's so many. There's the Krenkos and there's the Magdas and not Magda, Muxus. But I don't know if this goes in there because you're amassing orcs, not goblins. Well, I don't know. Doesn't do it for me. Haradrim Spearmaster, 2 and a red, 2/3 reach. At the beginning of combat, another creature you control gets +1/+0. Hugh the Entwood. By the way, is me saying limited. There's so many syllables. And it's like the evil one. I don't like to say the name limited. Hugh the Entwood is 3 red, sorcery mythic. Sacrifice any number of lands. Reveal the top X of your library, where X is the number of lands sacrificed. Choose any number of artifact and or land cards revealed this way. Put all non-land cards onto the battlefield. Then put all land cards onto the battlefield tapped, and put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Choose any number of artifact or lands. Put all non-land cards chosen onto the battlefield. So artifacts onto the battlefield. And put all land cards onto the battlefield. So all the creatures and all the enchantments and stuff just bottom, right? It's like the definition of win more, right? Because if you come up with some kind of a scheme to have 1 billion lands and you sack them all to go get more lands, but most of the time you're going to whiff on a good number of them. So yeah, you're de-ramping. I don't understand this card. It does cheat out artifacts. So what? If you are trying... So say you're not in a ramp deck. Say you're in just a red big artifacts deck. Say you're playing Magda and you got 5 lands and you sacrifice 5 lands. You flip your top 5 and you hit 4 things that don't matter much and 1 portal to Phyrexia. You have Armageddon yourself to drop a portal on them. Did you do it? Is that the thing? Doesn't sound good to me. Sounds bad. Sounds bad. Let's move on. Improvise Club. Oh, the art's killing me. 1 in a red instant. When you cast this, sack an artifact or creature for 4 damage to a target. Moria Marauder. Red, rare, 1/1 double strike goblin warrior. Whenever a goblin or orc you control deals damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Oh, that's good. Oh, okay. Now we found something for Krenko. Now we found something for Muxus. That is a good goblin. It doesn't ramp you. It doesn't try to I don't know. It doesn't give everything haste. It's just a good creature. I don't know if that's what you necessarily need. Probably better in Krenko than Muxus, because Muxus needs to like hit goblins that give haste so that you're ending the game on the spot or make mana somehow. But this is a good goblin, and I am tempted to put it on the list because it goes in goblin decks. I just have none because I have taste. So I'm not putting it on my list because I have taste. It's been a while since we put a card on the list, guys. I'm getting a little worried. I'm seeing a lot of so-so cards. Oliphant is a mountain cycler. It's the mountain cycler. So it will see play like the others to kind of mana fix and put a creature in the graveyard. Olog High. Oleg High Crusher. 3 in a red. Troll Soldier 4/4 trample. Can't block unless you control a goblin or orc. Lame. Quarrel's End is 2 in a red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, discard it, draw 2 cards, and create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Seize the Spoils is better. I would rather have the treasure, but this, it's Thrill of Possibility that also makes a 1/1. Is that good? There might be some decks that want that, right? Does this go in a Luna? I don't like the sorcery speedness. The sorcery speedness bothers me. I also think that going to 3 mana from 2 is a big jump. So I'm not loving it. This card I don't like as much. Rally the Hornberg. 1 in a red sorcery. Create 2 tokens. Humans you control gain haste. Humans you control gain haste until end of turn. It's a sorcery that makes 2 1/1 human soldier tokens and then gives them haste. I mean, that's good, right? Do we have a card that for 2 mana makes 2 1/1s and they gain haste? I think that's, yeah, there's definitely going to be decks for this. Narset. This is really good with Narset, the Outcast, the newest one. Narset's a human. Yeah, Forbidden Friendship was as close as you get. Yeah. This card is an upgrade. It goes in a couple of decks. It doesn't make those decks. It just makes them a little better. Ranger's Firebrand is 1 red for a sorcery that deals 2 damage to any target and the ring tempts you. All right, more shocks with a little upside. Maybe we play that in something that just can't get enough shocks, like Burn. Relentless Rohirrim is 3 in a red for a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Rising of the Day, 2 in a red enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. Legendary creatures get +1/+0. These kind of effects are beloved in Commander. Commanders with haste are awesome. There will be a lot of cards that really, a lot of Commander decks that like this. Is there a deck that likes this in Historic Brawl? I can't think of one right off hand, but I'm not somebody who is always looking for more ways to hastily attack everyone all the time. So while it's not coming to mind, there's got to be something with like a cool tap ability or an attack trigger that you don't always get to. A Delina Wildmage. Okay, Delina Wildmage is like the first thing that comes to mind that I would 100% want to play more with Rising of the Day, and this goes in there for sure, for absolutely sure. Could go in Magda. I don't think it goes in Magda. Because I think you'd rather have a vehicle, right, than to be attacking with Magda, because at this point, with 3 mana, the opponent's playing something, you're running into something, and you're dying. But yeah. Definitely goes in Delina. Rohirrim Lancer. A red menace. When it dies, the ring tempts you. I mean, do we need a human knight that badly for 1 mana? Not many 1-drops in this whole set, are there? My goodness. Rush the Room. 1 red instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 against first strike. If it's a goblin or a haste. Whee! Smite the Deathless. No living man am I. 1 and a red instant. 3 damage to target creature. That creature loses indestructible until end of turn. If it would die, exile it instead. Only hits creatures, so you'd rather have a Scorching Dragonfire. Spiteful Banditry, X, red mythic enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each creature. Whenever one or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. This triggers once a turn. Huh? Huh? Is this a meat hook massacre? But in red? So obviously -X is way better than damage. And it's an expensive kind of earthquake. It does hang out on the battlefield, and now every time something dies, you make a treasure. Well, once a turn. This is really good in Commander, I think. I mean, I can see, much like Meat Hook, I can see loving this effect enough that you just play it on turn 2 in some matchups and spots. Like you look at your hand and you're like, well, I don't need another sweeper. I have a Storm's Wrath or I have a Burn Down the House. I'm just going to 2 mana run this out there, right? I wonder. I will definitely play it in Koth. Like Big Red, I would 100% play this card. Magda? I mean, if you're running a version with enough like little removal and things, you play this. How about Ragavan? Play this in Ragavan, I think. Again, you're just playing the enchantment a good amount of the time, right? Yeah, I mean, this card goes in a number of things. Niv Mizzet? Yeah, Niv Mizzet. Now you're thinking like a control mage. Getting those treasures can be a big gain. Yeah, dude. This card goes in a lot of things, I think. I think this... We're doing it. The return of the list. Oh my gosh. It's been so long. There were no black cards? Stern Scolding was the last one? I must be tripping. There must be something I missed. Oh my God. Almost all of black and red. You know what? That's fine. If black and red don't get good cards for a while, that is fine. Swarming of Moria. 2 in a red, create a treasure, and amass orcs 2. Meh. There and back again. And what happened after? 3 red saga. 1. Up to 1 target creature can't block for as long as you control there and back again. The ring tempts you. Chapter 2. Search your library for a mountain. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Ramp! We've got ramp. Only 5 mana and 2 chapters, and we can ramp. Chapter 3, create Smog. Oh, no, Smog's in this? A legendary 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying and haste. And when this dies, create 14 treasures. I don't know if this card is good, but I'm going to play it. I love this. I love this so much. 14 treasures? 14? I mean, yeah, throw it in a witch's oven or an Ashnod's altar or whatever. That's sweet. You probably don't have to. They probably have to kill it. I mean, yeah, it goes in Tiamat. It goes in Dragon decks, I think. I think it goes in Dragon decks. I'm definitely playing it in Koth. Koth is like my favorite big red deck. The Planeswalker Koth that fetches mountains. It definitely goes there. I don't know. Guys, I don't think it's good. I just think it's awesome. That's sometimes enough. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put... I shouldn't put a card that's not good on the list. I should have standards. The problem is, I'm worried I will forget to add it to the deck if I don't put it on my list. We're gonna leave it off. We're gonna leave it off. The Smog token art is sadly underwhelming. Ban this person. AD high def. Get out of my chat. I am trying to maintain optimism and hype, and you are the wettest blanket of them all. Just let me in. See, it's the Schrodinger's cat thing, you guys. In my head, the Smog art is amazing. And if I never get to chapter 3 on this card ever, I will never be underwhelmed. It will always be amazing in my head. And I think there's a legitimate chance that I will never see chapter 3 of this card in my life. So, there. Warbeast of Gorgoroth. 4 and a red 5/4. When this or another creature with power 4 or greater dies, amass orcs. Whee. Wonder if there's some combo stuff for that. You have this out. You have a sack outlet. It has to be power 4 or greater, so you have to sack 2 power 4 or greater things to get this up to a 4, and then you sack the orcs, and then it reamasses? I don't know. Yeah, probably not. Moving on. Bag and Porter. 3 and a green, 4/4 dwarf. When it attacks, it gets +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. By the way, this is like probably going to be a billion elves and hobbits, and it's all going to be fine. Bombadil's Song. 1 and a green, instant target creature gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof till end of turn. The ring tempts you. I like my hexproof effects to only cost 1 mana. Brandywine Farmer is 2 and a red. Nope, we're not doing red anymore. 2 and a green. For a 1/1, when it enters or leaves the battlefield, create a food. It's fine. Good value. If you have to have a food deck, this is good food. There's going to be a lot of cards for the food deck. I'm just going to be like, yep, good for food deck and move on, unless it's really outstanding. I want to say Celeborn, but it feels better to say Celeborn. Chat, this is why you're here. Celery. All right, it is Celeborn the Wise. 3 and a green for a 3/3 elf noble. Whenever you attack with 1 or more elves, scry 1. Whenever you scry, +1/+1 till end of turn for each card that was looked at. There's also going to be a lot of elf stuff that scries, and it is probably good for specifically the Elfie Scry E deck. And I'm just going to be like, yep, another scry elf, unless it's really exceptional. LOTR words use hard C. Oh, that's really good to know. That's going to come in handy. Kahant's Met Elves. 2 and a green, 3/2 elf warrior. Whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on Kahant's Met Elves. This ability triggers only once a turn. Must be some kind of an elvish word. Delighted Halfling. 1 green for a 1/2 halfling citizen that taps for a colorless. And then tap and add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell, and that spell can't be countered. Oh, that card's good. It's a mana dork. It's a mana dork for colorless, which isn't great for everything, but it's usually good enough. It's 1/2 instead of 1. It's not legendary. And it makes your commander uncounterable. This song is you know what? This song isn't just a staple. This is a historic brawl staple. This goes, oh my gosh. First of all, we don't have that many 1 mana mana dorks in historic brawl, so it's still kind of high rolling to hit a curve that starts with a 1 mana mana dork. So right away, this is in all those green decks in historic brawl. And it's probably in every commander deck that, I don't know, likes resolving their commander. Guys, this goes on the list. This goes on the list, guys. Oh my god. Oh my god. Blue is unplayable. Retire the color. It's over. We're done. Give it up. Dunedain Rangers is 3 and a green for a 4/4 human ranger landfall. When a land enters the battlefield, if you don't control a ring bearer, it tempts you. Elven Chorus, 3 and a green enchantment at rare. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. It's a lot of good stuff. It's a lot of good stuff. Your creatures become mana. You can cast creatures from the top. I think it's a good commander card. There might be a deck that it's good, like a real board flutter kind of deck that then has convenient mana sinks. Like, maybe this goes in Kinnan or something like that? Like mid-range Kinnan? There's a few decks that this might go in. I don't think it goes in everything. This card is nuts with Tyvar. Yeah. Well, I mean, elves in general, right? Yep. It's a good card. If you were in the market for Augur of Autumn and Cryptolith Rite, this is a little bit of both. So, let's do it. Elven Chorus goes in a number of decks. I don't think it... I think it only makes those decks a little bit better, though. It's like, you already play Beast Whisperer. Do you play this instead of a Guardian Project? Probably not. Like, how many more 4-mana value plays do we need? And this one makes a lot of mana, so it's better than some, but worse than others. I think it's just all right. It's all right. Elven Farsight. 1 green for a sorcery. Scry 3. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, draw a card. Feels like a blue spell. Are we really going for like 1 green? Scry 3? 1 green, Scry 3. Reveal a creature to draw. If you whiff, it's pretty bad. Just 1 mana Scry 3 I don't think is that good. Unless you're just really trying to hit land. I don't know. I don't know if I'd play this card. There might be some deck where that it's perfect for. Joriel suggestion. Sure. Chances to whiff are low. No, they're not. Are you kidding me? How many creatures do you run in your deck? I will 100%. I will play this card, and my top 3 cards will be land, once upon a time. And you will eat those words. At least you get to throw them on the bottom, so it's not like you're stuck with them. So I could see this card being playable, but I don't think it's as good as it looks. Enraged Worn. 4 green, 4/5 trample. When it enters the battlefield, ring tempts you. Yeah. Entish Restoration. 2 and a green. Instant. Sack a land. Search your library for 2 basic lands. Put them onto the battlefield. Tapped. Shuffle. If you control a creature of power 4 or greater, instead search your library for 3 basic lands. Put them on the battlefield. Tapped and shuffle. Roiling Regrowth, but with potential upside. It is an instant, so strictly better Roiling Regrowth. Yep. There are definitely some decks that play this and need more of this, like the landfall decks. Just like the Windgrace, as an example, needs more of this effect. So this will see play. This will see play to make those decks a little bit better. Ents Fury is 1 and a green sorcery, +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. If its power is 4 or greater, then that creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn and fights a creature you don't control. Yay, more fighting. Yay. Put it in a deck with Ozolith and stuff. I don't know. Fall of Gilgalad. Okay. Scry 2. That's chapter 1. It's a saga. Chapter 2. Put 2 counters on a creature you control. Chapter 3. Until end of turn, target creature gains. When this creature dies, draw 2 cards. Then it fights up to 1 other target creature. This is what we have to do to draw cards in green. But that said, for 2 mana, it's not a bad rate. The problem with it is if you're going to play it on turn 2, you better have a 1 mana card and the opponent gets a turn to kill it, or the counters don't do anything, and that sucks. So I don't think this is that good. Maybe there is a deck with a ton of cheap 1 mana cards that you want to play this in. Seems slow and not good to me. Fanghorn Tree Shepherd. 4 green. 4/10 Tree Folk. Tree Folk have Vigilance. Whenever 1 or more Tree Folk attack, add twice that much green. It's twice the number of attacking Tree Folk? You don't lose it as steps and phases end. Fanghorn's pretty cool. 7 mana is a lot. Yeah, this is a commander card. Sadly, it's mostly 7 mana dies to removal, which is too bad. Galadrim Bow. 2 and a green artifact equipment with flash. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to something, untap it. Equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has reach. Equip 2. When it enters the battlefield, attach it and untap. It's too bad that when it equips, it doesn't untap as well. That would be awesome. Yeah, I think this is just meh. Even in like Marwyn that wants to untap Marwyn or Savala, you just rather have a cheaper instant. Galadrim Guide. 3 and a green, 3/4 Elf Scout. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Generous Ent. 5 and a green, 5/7 reach. Enters the battlefield, create food. Oh, the Forest Cycler. Well, the forest, that whole basic land cycling thing will be playable. I mean, there are even like 2-color decks where just fetching like your 2-color land, your isolated chapels, or you know, whatever. Like Historic Brawl just needs that. Fetch your shock land, you know. 2-color decks have a pretty hard time with mana. They have a hard time curving out, and getting creatures in graveyards matter. Gift of Strands is 3 and a green for a flash enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Enchant creature gets +3/+3. Yeah. Just a reminder, if you guys have been watching for a while, refresh your stream. The chat tends to fall behind the longer we stream, and we are 2 hours and 16 minutes into this set review, so brief and crisp, just the way I like it. Glorfindel Dauntless Rescuer is 2 and a green for a 3/2 legendary elf noble. When you scry, choose one, and this gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It must be blocked or can't be blocked by more than one creature. Yeah. Last March of the Ents is 8 mana, 6 green for a mythic sorcery that can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Woo! Good commander card. Good commander card. Good Itali card. Good Itali card. Where else do we play this? I mean, you could try to rely on your other fatty boom booms in a deck like Nissa or Asika. I don't think you really want to. Thank you for the sub, ADHI Def, for casting positive attitude targeting yourself. That is good dojo behavior. I don't think you want this in Modi. You'd be relying on, that's the other thing, just like with Azusa. Like, you want to cast your big creature, and then you're relying on having that big creature out for this to be good. Coma. Think you play this in Coma, maybe. Because sometimes you play Coma, and it's, Scholar reanimating this could be fun, for sure. I think you try this in a lot of just the absolutely ridiculous, go way over the top decks. So Emoti kind of strikes me that way. So yeah, I we'll see. Also, this isn't that good in Coma if you're playing the version of Coma that's all ramp and counter spells anyway. It is the greatest toughness among creatures you control. I don't know. I feel like there's more homes for this. Itali's enough though, right? Itali makes this card super exciting. It's so cool. Legolas Master Archer is 1 green rare 1/4 reach. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Legolas, put a counter on it. That's pretty sick. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you don't control, this deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. So you want a lot of cards that target. You can play this with a bunch of, like, you know, Ranger's Guile, like protection spells. I don't know. This card seems like a fun This card actually does seem like a kind of a fun Voltron-ish protect the queen feather type commander, because there's so many cheap fight and bite type spells in green that I think this like would be a really good Season of Growth deck. I think it would be. So I would probably try this as a commander, even though it's green, and I don't like green very much. The Long List of Ents, 1 green. Saga has 6 chapters. They're all the same. Note a creature type that hasn't been noted for Long List of Ents. When you cast your next creature spell of that type this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. What? It is only 1 mana. That's nice. And then what you're hoping is that for the next 6 turns, you have a creature of a different type. Or you have a lot of changelings. I mean, does this go in a party deck? Right? Because here's the thing, a lot of those creatures have multiple types, right? I mean, yeah, it can go in Volo. I don't even play Volo. I don't even know how Volo works. But like, I'm thinking party, because party can actually be competitive. There's the Tazri party that's pretty good. But if you played in party, you can name the 4 party types, but then along the way, like, a lot of them are other things too. You can also name human, you can also name whatever other creature type is in there. There usually is something. They're usually not all humans. And that kind of covers, I mean, that's 5 out of 6. So if there's 1 elf, then you got 6, right? Yeah, party in green, the Tazri. I think that's the name of the general, the 5-color party commander. It's a pretty good deck. I haven't made a video with it, but it's a good deck. Not many people play it, but when I see it, it looks impressive. Yeah, this might have a really obscure home. This is just me trying, because it looks like a ridiculous card. And yeah, Volo, sure. Lothlorien Lookout, 1 and a green, 1/3. When it attacks, scry 1. Nope. Many Partings, a green sorcery. Search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, create a food. Oh, that's awesome. Wait, there's a lot of decks that want that, right? Lay of the Land and a food? That's better than the black one I was kind of excited about. You get a land, you get a food, you get a sorcery in your graveyard, you get a spellcast trigger. There's a lot of cards that'll play Many Partings. That's just, I mean, remember when they banned Attune with Aether? That's just good. That goes in a ton of things. That's just a good card. Gilded Goose loves it, but it doesn't need food synergy. Any kind of artifact synergy is awesome, or you just gain 3 life later. That's good too. Yeah, yeah, it's just a good card. It's just a lot of material for 1 mana. Sweet. What is the best 1 green sorcery right now in Historic Brawl that fetches a land? We have Traverse the Uvenwald, we have Dig Up, we have Many Partings. Yeah, great with Korvold. We have Thirsting Roots, we've got Bushwhack. I can think of 5, and they're all good. None of them are busted, but they're all good. Once Upon a Time, kinda, but no. Doesn't really count. Yeah, like, I mean, we're getting there. It's a good way to quickly get a sorcery into your graveyard if that's useful to you. Meriadoc Brandybuck is 1 and a green for a 2/2. When 1 or more halflings attack, create a food. That's fine. I wouldn't want it to be a commander, but it goes in the food deck. Mirkwood Spider, 1 green, 1/1 death touch. When it attacks, a legendary creature gains death touch. Meh. Mirror Mare Guardian, 2 and a green, 4/2. When it dies, the ring tempts you. Mushroom Watchdogs, 1 and a green, creature dog, 2/2. Sacrifice a food, put a +1/+1 counter on the Watchdogs. It gains vigilance till end of turn. Activate as a sorcery. Great in the food deck. Great with the card we just talked about, Many Partings. So there's some good doggies. Some good doggies. These will be useful. There are other like There are going to be food decks, so this might see play in there. We'll see. Activate as a sorcery is sad, but you can do it multiple times a turn. Peregrine Took is 2 and a green for a 2/3 halfling. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional food are created. I mean, that's really good for the food deck, so it'll definitely see play there. Sacrifice 3 foods to draw a card. That's really good. You know what the other big winner is? There's that, what's the name of the card? Someone will know it. It's the hexproof Bant, or it's either Simic or Bant Polar Bear. I think it's a Simic Polar Bear. It's an alchemy card, right? And it's it works with food too, but there just wasn't much food. Yeah, it's like a polar werebear that does food stuff. It's 4 mana. Oh, that card is... I never made that video. I need to make that video because there's going to be so much green food for it now that card becomes way better because it sacrifices food tokens to draft from its spellbook and it makes a bunch of mana. It'll be really good. Pippin's Bravery is 1 green instant. Sack a food if you do, +4/+4. Otherwise, +2/+2. Yeah. Quick Beam Upstart Ent is 4 green 5/6. When this or another tree folk ETBs, up to 2 creatures get +2/+2 and trample. Nah. Radagast the Brown. Oh, there he is. He likes animals. How Volo do you think this guy will be? 2 green mythic 2/5. Avatar Wizard. When it or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the creature's mana value. Okay, it's also in this enter, so it is an ETB. You may reveal a creature card that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control from among those cards and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. Yep. Great in Volo, and it's Volo-esque, and it's good with the long list of events or whatever it was. Radagast isn't bad. Some people like brewing this way. I really don't like building with... It's weird because I don't like strictly tribal decks that are all one type. I also don't like trying to have to care about every different possible type. Both of those are not decks I generally like to build, but this will be very happy. Like Amy, Amazonian's gonna have a great time with this card. She's gonna love it. Revive the Shire is 1 and a green sorcery. Return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand, create a food. Okay, I was gonna say that's just Power Crept Regrowth, but it's permanent, not any card. Still, that's very good. It depends on what we're getting back, though. It doesn't fit in the Time Warp decks, so if there is some permanent we're spamming over and over, this card is good in that deck. Making the food token is good. Maybe this also goes in a Korvold. It does get land, so it can get a fetch land back. I could see this card seeing play. The food cards are just generally good, man. They're gonna see play. The Ring Goes South, 3 and a green sorcery. It tempts you. Then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X lands, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Put those lands onto the battlefield tapped, the rest on the bottom. Okay. If you're playing like a party, you know, if you've got a fellowship going on, if you have like 2 or 3 legendary creatures, if you have 3 or more legendary creatures, this card is really good. If you have less than that, this card should just be something else. I'm gonna guess it's not easy to get 2 or 3 legendary creatures. I'm trying to think of a deck that runs green that would have that many legends. So I don't think this is good. Shortcut to Mushrooms. 1 and a green enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, counter on a creature you control. Yeah. It's not hard to get the counter. It's just you only get the 1. It's kind of sad. Shower of Arrows is 2 and a green instant to destroy an enchantment, an artifact, or a creature with flying and scry 1. Atraxa's Fall is probably better even though it's a sorcery. I don't think the scry is really worth it, but maybe you put it in the scry deck. Stew the Conies. Who knew that cooking could be so violent? 2 and a green instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Create a food token.
That hobbit is so polite.
There. Take that. Woe's Pathfinder is a 1 in a green, 1/1, tap for 1 mana of any color, and then 7 in tap. Another target creature gets +3/+3 and trample. I wish it was all creatures, but no, just a slow mana dork. All right, guys, we made it to Multicolored, which we're getting there. We're getting there. It's in our grasp. This also is usually a lot of the commanders, so a lot of the exciting cards. Let's go. Aragorn, company leader, 1 and a green-white 3/3, legendary human ranger. When the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Aragorn as your ring bearer, put your choice of a counter from among First Strike, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink on Aragorn. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on Aragorn, put 1 of each of those kinds of counters on up to 1 other target creature. That's a lot of text to basically say, ring tempt, which this does not tempt you, so you need other cards to do the tempting. Ring tempts you, someone else gets the thingy, and then we get abilities. Yeah, I don't think this is any good. Find this card very underwhelming. All right. How about this card? Aragorn the Uniter. Red, green, white, blue, 5/5. Human noble. Whenever you cast a white spell, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever you cast a blue spell, scry 2. Whenever you cast a red spell, 3 damage to target opponent. Whenever you cast a green spell, target creature gets +4/+4. Whoa! That's a lot of things. You kind of want to find ways to cast multicolored spells to get a bunch of the triggers. What I want to try in Historic Brawl with this deck, you can do 2 things. You can play kind of the aggro go wide that just makes a ton of soldiers. I want to try as many blue and red spells as I can to get the scry 2 and the damage to see if you can just storm off and kill the opponent with all that. But you can build this a ton of different ways. I will say, having played Omnath recently, where I focused on the 5-color Omnath, but without actually having to have the black mana to pay it. I built it with almost no black spells. It's weird that this is a 4-color combination that feels really underpowered against other 4-color combinations in Historic Brawl. It really does. Like, the black cards are really good. Thoughtseize is really good, you guys. And you're going up against things like Atraxa. So, I don't know. How do you want to build Aragorn the Uniter? Uniter. How do you want to build this card? I will say it's one of the more exciting cards to build with. You can build it a ton of different ways. People are going to have their different takes on how to make this good. In a 1v1, I will say when you cast green spells, +4/+4 is a lot. This card will just smack people to death so fast, like so fast. And of course it goes in decks like, you know, it goes in Joda and some of the 5-color decks, but as your commander, there's a number of ways to try to take it. I think at the end of the day, it won't be a great Historic Brawl commander, and that makes me sad. Because, yeah, it'll hit the battlefield and it'll be kill on sight, and maybe you cast 1 spell in response, maybe 2 if you're lucky, and you get the tiniest bit of value. So I'm a little nervous about how this will play, but it's still a commander I'm excited to build, and I'm going to try. I'm going to give Aragorn the Uniter a very honest try. I'm going to try to make a very good Historic Brawl deck with this card. Arwen, Mortal Queen, is 1 and a green and a white for a 2/2 elf noble at Mythic and enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter, so that's pretty good. Remove an indestructible counter and target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on that creature and a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on Arwen. That's a pretty cool card. I think it's more of a protection card though. I don't think it's a good commander. I think it's a good 99. Like, I can see this in Sisay. That would be pretty good. What are the other like best like green and white commanders out there? There aren't that many. There aren't that many competitive ones, but this can go into a number of any decks where you really do want to protect your commander. Aragorn is probably going to run Arwen, right? So that right there is a good flavor win. Arwen Undomiel. green blue for a 2/2 with some scry payoffs. This will go in the elf deck that scries because +1/+1 counters are good, but I mean, it's just kind of a meh card. The Balrog, Durin's Bane, 5 black red, 7/5. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent you sacrifice to this turn. Haste. Can't be blocked except by legendary creatures. When the Balrog dies, destroy target artifact or creature an opponent controls. Whoa. Whoa. So there's probably Pitiless Plunderer plus something goes quasi-infinite. And it definitely fits in Corvold. What is the best sacrifice black-red commander? Is this it? Do you just fill your deck with sacrifice so that this is the payoff? Maybe. This is an exciting commander. I am curious to see how it turns out. Prosper, yeah. Prosper is going to be a hard one to beat for that title. But this is like a full-on payoff, you know? So if you're in a sacrifice deck, this card goes in your 99 at least. And if this is your commander, everything is sacrifice and stuff to sacrifice. I mean, this thing just kills you. It will often get down to be like 4 mana or less, and it's just a 7/5 haste, and if they kill it, their best thing dies too. Like, that's kind of madness. So this goes in a number of decks. This is a build around commander. This is great for sacrifice players. I get down with sacrifice about once a month. I have about 1 day of sacrifice in me. But I will definitely give some of it to the Balrog. This card goes on the list. Bilbo, Retired Burglar. 1 is it 1/3 when it enters the battlefield or leaves, the ring tempts you. When combat damage to a player, create a treasure. Well, kind of hard for a 3 mana 1/3 to get in and deal damage, except you make it the ring bearer. And then it's dealing damage a lot and you're getting treasures. But I mean, it's kind of a Captain Lannery Storm. So you want to play it with decks that need to be tempted, but in blue and red, are you tempting that often? Card doesn't strike me as very good. Butterbur Bree Innkeeper, 2 green, white, 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you don't control the food, create a food. Well, what are you doing with your life if you don't have food? Nope. Probably bad, because if you're playing that deck and you need food, you should have. There's so many ways to make food. You should not be without food. Denethor, Ruling Steward, 1 Orzhov, 3 mana total, 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. 2, sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It's an open-ended sack outlet, but it requires a lot of mana. And it does give you a body at the beginning of your end step. I'm still not a fan. Like, I think it's too mana intensive, and I don't think black-white needs this. Like, what's the best black-white sacrifice commander? It has to be Lurrus. Like, this is not better than Lurrus as a commander, right? And there's probably some other ones that are really good too. Like, you can do clerics and run Aura or Oprah or whatever I call that card. So yeah, this card is meh to me. You are meh to me. Doors of Durin, 3 red-green legendary artifact. Whenever you attack scry 2, then you may reveal the top card. If it's a creature, put it onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Whoa. Until your next turn, it gains trample if you control a dwarf, and hexproof if you control an elf. I think it's too optimistic. Like, 5 mana, you play this, you scry 2. So you play this and you attack that turn, right? You scry 2, and if you hit, and onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Wow! It just feels like, how many of those big creatures can you run? So a lot of the time, this is a whiff. So I can't see myself running this. Even in something like an Itali, I don't think this is good. I just don't think it is. Elrond, Master of Healing, is 2 and a green-blue for 4/4 Elf Noble. When you scry, put a counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying. Whenever a creature you control with the +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. It doesn't scry itself. You need other cards to do the scrying. Now, there's a lot of them, but they're not very good. So I think this is a commander card. I think you can build around this in commander. I think in Historic Brawl, this just dies, and it's sad. Eowyn, Fearless Knight. 2 red, white, 3/4 human knight with haste. It enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. Legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until every turn. Yes. Yes. Oh, we gonna blink it? Yorion. Oh yes, I know it's not in the same color identity, but this as a commander, we're gonna have our teleportation circles, we're gonna have our ephemerates, we're gonna have our cloud shifts, we're gonna exile their stuff so much. I am oddly excited, like really excited about this Boros commander, and that is weird because Boros is probably the color combination I play the least, like the least. But yeah, Restoration Angel, we're gonna do all the things to exile their stuff over and over, and I think this card is going to be awesome in certain matchups. I think this deck is going to be awesome with this as the Historic Brawl commander in a lot of matchups, and I think this goes right into Winota and a number of other Boros decks. I think this goes into Jeskai decks. I think this goes into all kinds of decks. This is just a very good card. Like, I mean, it's like a Ravenous like it's way better than a Ravenous Chupacabra as long as you're killing something that has power 4 or greater. And I think that there's enough of that out there, especially around the 4 mana mark, you know? Yeah, it exiles it, it's gone. It doesn't come back. They don't get a token. This is no Skyclave Apparition. There's no Banishing Priest. Gone. And you blink it and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. Bang, bang, bang. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then if you want to figure out how to make the opponent's creatures bigger or how to make yours smaller, you can also do other shenanigans. So guess what? Eowyn, you're on the list. Faramir, Prince of Ithilien, is 2 and a blue-white for a 3/3 legendary human noble rare. At the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent. At the beginning of that player's next end step, that's a long time to wait for a trigger, you know, that requires this to be on the battlefield. You draw a card if they didn't attack you, otherwise create 3/1/1s. Those are good payoffs. And this is a good card in Commander because it doesn't really hurt the opponent that much either way, so they'll leave it alone. In Historic Brawl, no way. No way. No way. It's not gonna live. Flame of Anor is 1 and a blue-red for an instant. Choose one. If you control a wizard as you cast this, you may choose 2. Target player draws 2 cards, destroy target artifact, or 5 damage to target creature. This card is a straight-up staple in any blue-red deck that has a commander that is a wizard. It is... Does it get played in Historic Wizards? I don't think so. I think it's too expensive. Maybe one of, or maybe in the sideboard. Like, yeah, sideboard card, I'm guessing, where like the 5 damage is crucial. I think for the most part, it's too expensive. You just don't need 3 mana cards in Wizards. But this is a very good deck. Like, if your commander is a wizard, Vadrik comes to mind, but there's a number of them in this colors, then yeah, Flame of Anor is a very good card. Very, very good card. The flexibility is awesome. Friendly Rivalry, red and a green instant, target creature you control and up to one other target legendary creature you control, each deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't control. Is this just good red-green removal? If you have a creature deck, it's going to be a difficult thing to disrupt because you're going to have 2 creatures, so like spot removal doesn't blow it out quite the same way that it would a single fight spell. And it's not a fight, it's a bite, and it's a gang up, so they can kill almost anything, even bigger things. This is a good way to kill a Shieldred, for example. So I think this might go in any red-green creature deck. Helana and Elena, partners, you know, for sure, are probably going to want to play Friendly Rivalry. Yeah, good card. Frodo Baggins, green white 1/3 halfling scout. Whenever this or another legendary creature enters the battlefield, it tempts you. So if you need the ring to tempt you in these colors, this is a good one. As long as it's your ring bearer, it must be blocked. That's kind of weird because the ring bearer means you can't be blocked very easily. So I guess you kill a bunch of 1/1s. So, this card for me, it depends how much you need the ring to tempt you. If it's a huge part of your strategy and you're in these colors, you run this. Galadriel of Lothlorien. 1 green blue 3/3 elf noble, rare. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Galadriel as your ring bearer, scry 3. Whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If a land is revealed, put it onto the battlefield tapped. This is the scry payoff you're looking for. If you want to do the scrying elves thing, or you just like a lot of scrying cards, this is the commander for you, either in Historic Brawl or Commander itself, because that payoff is very, very good. You need to, it doesn't tempt itself, so you need to get some ring tempting you into your deck, but the scry 3 and then hitting a land is so good, plus the other payoffs of whatever you did to get tempted. And yeah, this plus scry, very good. It's very deep. It's also a decent body. It's not that easy to kill, and it's cheap. Gandalf the Grey, 3 blue red 3/4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, choose one that hasn't been chosen. You may tap or untap target permanent. Gandalf deals 3 damage to each opponent. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, and put Gandalf on top of owner's library. This card is fine. I will try some kind of a blue-red control deck with this as the commander, almost out of like just need to play Gandalf, a Gandalf deck. One thing that's kind of odd is if you storm off with Gandalf, these are not maze. You have to keep choosing. So if you get 4 spells deep on a turn, you have to put Gandalf on top of the owner's library. Now you can send it to command zone, which can be a thing that you might want to do if you have a lot of mana to recast. Also, if you have a cheap way to redraw it and then keep going by recasting it, if you really have that much mana, maybe it's a thing. It's an interesting combo-y type of card, and I'll try building with it. We'll see how it goes. This plus Displacer. This is the first time we said Displacer Kitten in this review, but yeah, this plus Displacer Kitten is not bad at all. You just copy every spell. Wild. Gandalf Sanction. 1 blue-red sorcery, X damage to a creature, where X is the number of instant or sorceries in the graveyard. X damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. Nice. Just use this as player removal if we mill ourselves enough. Seems unlikely. I honestly don't think I'll play this card. I think it's kind of, I'd rather run Beacon Bolt, because I think that the extra damage to the player is not going to be very important. But then again, I'm not an aggro mage, so maybe there will be some other ways that this is played. Gimli Mournful Avenger, 1 red-green 3/2. It has indestructible as long as 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a counter on it. If it's the 3rd time, it fights. Weird to be in a sacrifice deck, but Corvold is. So put this in Jund, put this in Corvold. Gwaihir the Windlord is 4 and a white-blue for a 4/4 that costs 2 less to cast if you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. Flying and Vigilance. Birds have Vigilance. Go Birds. King of the Oathbreakers, 2 white-black 3/3 flying. Spirit Noble. Whenever this or another spirit becomes the target of a spell, it phases out. Whenever this or another spirit you control phases in, create a tapped 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Whoa! How sweet is that? Oddly in black-white though. So what are we targeting this with in our black-white deck? It is cool. It is fun. What do we target it with? That's the question. Like, we need a lot of cheap little target this. I mean, Homestead Courage, I guess, but not really. You just phase it out immediately. It doesn't even get the counter. You get Spirit. I mean, that is it when it becomes the target. So it doesn't even get the benefits of the spell. You're basically throwing. So the spell can be any instant. Any instant. And you want it to target this. It would be nice if it also targeted other things so that it did something. But any instant, it just phases this out. Wah! Got him, right? I mean, why would you cast an aura on this? It just phases out. It never gets the aura, or it just goes straight to the graveyard. It's so silly. So no, it's really weird. Everything you target it with, you get no benefit from. No benefit whatsoever. That's kind of funny, but it creates this weird situation where you just want to play really bad white or black 1 or 0 mana instants that target your creature so that you can phase it out and make more spirits. And they just need to suck. You don't even want them to be good. It's kind of funny. I don't know. That's pretty funny. This is a cool card. I do not know what to do with it. So my take, if I'm playing Historic Brawl, this is your commander, black-white control, remove everything the opponent does, and then anytime they try to kill this, it just phases out and you make another spirit, and on it goes. And you run like 8 to 10 instants that you don't mind just throwing at this. Like your own removal spells. If the opponent doesn't give you a target to remove, you can target this to get the trigger. So all of your removal spells stay alive. The problem with that deck, it's never going to beat Atraxa. It's never going to beat like 7 mana, gain endless value commanders. They're just going to outvalue you, and you're going to have a whole bunch of spirits that get destroyed. I think. Now there is the phasing thing. Maybe, I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe we can find a way around like what would kill it. If they can never remove it, eventually they die, right? Eventually. We'll see. This is an interesting card. I'm not going to put it on the list because I think there's a chance it's just not great because of the color identity. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes from there. It is pretty good with equipment, isn't it? Because equipment, like you can attach the equipment to it, and then the equipment phases out when this phases out. So it protects equipment. Legolas, counter of kills, 2 and a green and a blue, 2/3 reach archer. Whenever you scry, if it's tapped, you may untap it. Do this once a turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a counter on it. Good commander card. That's about it. Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff, white and a black, 2/1. When a player casts their second spell each turn, lose 1 life and create a treasure token. That seems really good. Really good in commander. Fine. I think fine in Historic Brawl. Like that's a tough build. It like goes in a Lurrus deck probably, but like what are you building your deck to do if this is your commander? Kind of weird colors for this. It's not red or green, you know, the treasure colors that really take advantage. So yeah, this card's okay. I don't think it's busted. I think it's good. I don't think I really want it to be my commander though. But maybe there's like a black-white ramp deck that you build with this. That just, the curve is like the 2 towers. A bunch of 1 mana cards, a bunch of expensive cards. You know what? I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. Orzhov big spells is something you just don't see very much. You just don't see a ramp deck. I'm gonna put this on the list. I like that idea a lot. Big Orzhov. Mohur. Urukai Captain. Black, red, 2/2 menace, orc soldier. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters, we put on army, that many +1/+1 counters. Okay, if you play armies, play this card. Mary, Esquire of Rohan, red and a white, 2/2 haste. It has first strike as long as it's equipped. When you attack with Mary or another legendary creature, draw a card. Great and Rafine, if you just splash red in there. Great and Winota. Yeah, great and Winota. As a commander, you can surround them with legendaries. and some equipments. It's kind of weird to get all the pieces of you need another legendary creature and you need an equipment, but it's doable. Goes in AON. Yeah, this will go in a number of decks. I'm not excited to have it as a commander though. The Mouth of Sauron. This is my favorite character from the cartoon. I am the Mouth of Sauron. There's like in the cartoon, he just like at some point just kind of roars at Aragorn some stupid way. Like he's like, "Ah!" It's like so bad. It's such a stupid character. And Aragorn just like just chastises him. Be gone. I did not come here to mince words with the likes of you. We will meet your armies. Anyway, 3 blue, black, 3/4. Human advisor enters the battlefield. Target player mills a mass where it's the number of instants or sorceries in graveyard. Meh. Well, I'll probably build a deck with this just because it was my favorite character in the cartoon, but whatever. Old Man Willow, 2 and a green and a black. Star tree folk. Power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or token. When you do, target creature gets -2/-2. Pippin, Guard of the Citadel, white, blue, 2/2 vigilance ward 1. Tap it. Another target creature you control gains protection from the card type of your choice until end turn. That is cool. That is a good protection card. That will go in a number of decks. I would never make it my commander. It's there to protect other commanders. Prince Imrahil. Nope. Imrahil. The Fair. White, blue, 2/2. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. This card is fine. This is kind of an interesting soldier's commander, I guess. But it's just fine. I don't want to play it that bad. Ring Sight is 1 and a blue and a black sorcery. The ring tempts you. Search your library for a card that shares a color with a legendary creature you control. Reveal it and put it in your hand. Ooh, a tutor. It's a tutor. It's a tutor as long as we have our commander or some other legendary out. So you really want to play it with an affordable commander or commander that sticks around on the battlefield pretty well. So like there's some 2 mana, there's like some 2 mana commanders you run this with, or maybe you run it with a commander that doesn't usually get killed for whatever reason. Oh, that's right. The ring tempting you does make the ring bearer legendary. So any creature, let's say you have a 2-drop, you turn it legendary with the ring, and then you search your library for a card that shares a color with that creature and put it in your hand. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Whoa. Okay. So, just any 2 mana creature, like a deck that wants a creature on turn 2, will love this card. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun, that'll be a fun card to play for sure. There will be decks where this fits. It does require a battlefield. Historic Brawl is not always about that, but we'll see. Rise of the Witch King, 2 black, green sorcery. Each player sacrifices a creature. If you sacrifice a creature, you may return another permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Well, that's a cool reanimation effect. You have to give up a thing. I give up a thing, but I get something back. Nice. Pretty nice. Any permanent. Here's my omniscience. Portal to Phyrexia. Let's go. Yeah, there's some decks that might play this card. It's interesting. Like my Gitrog monster type nonsense might enjoy stuff like this. Old Stick Fingers would love this. Samwise Gamgee is a green and a white for a 2/2. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a food. That can get out of hand. Any non-token creature entering the battlefield, you get food. Sacrifice 3 foods. Return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. There's got to be a combo in there. So yeah, there's like this is like alchemy, right? There's some seek cards and things like that that just get you more creatures. That card's good. Put it in Lagrella for sure. You know, just make a ton of foods and then use it to get back some legendary or other historic stuff. Put it in Kethis. I'm sure that you can find uses for these for sure. So yeah, Samwise will see some play. I don't know if it's a commander. Could be an interesting commander actually, but it will definitely see play in some other decks. It goes infinite with a sack outlet and cauldron familiar. So you play the cat, you sack it to Ashnod's altar. When you play the cat, you get a food, sack cat. Return cat to battlefield, get food, sack it. Okay. Yeah, GG. So what's your Abzan cat oven deck? It might be a new one, like an Abzan food deck. But yeah, Abzan cat oven win the game combo. You just need a sack outlet and your cauldron familiar. It's true. That's pretty sick. All right, this is going on the list, but not as the commander. I like new combos that just win the game. This with cauldron familiar. Very cool. Saruman of many colors. 3 Esper 5/4 ward, discard on enchantment, instant, or sorcery. Yeah, right. Whenever you cast your second spell, each opponent mills 2. When one of more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery card with equal or lesser mana value than that spell. When one or more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery card with equal or lesser mana value than that spell from an opponent's graveyard. What spell? The second spell. Okay. Copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This is a very good commander card. This is a very cool commander card. I don't think this is a good historic brawl card. I will try it. I am sure I will try it. But 6 mana, and then you know, it lives, it doesn't get countered, it doesn't get board wiped, nothing happens to it. And then the next turn, you have to cast 2 spells, a cheap one, and then probably an expensive one, and then the opponent mills something, and maybe you can cast something of theirs. Nope. Sauron, the Dark Lord, 3 blue black, 7/6 ward, sack a legendary artifact or a legendary creature. Ha! Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass Oryx 1. Whenever an army deals damage, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, discard your hand, draw 4 cards. Now that's a 6 mana commander I can get behind. There's card advantage in there. Just the opponent casting stuff makes orcs and things. Combine that with something like a Yawgmoth and it's absolutely brutal. A sack outlet, you do so much. The ring tempting you has an effect. Yeah, big evil bad. I don't know if it will be great, but there is no way I'm not building with this card. No way. Impossible. Impossible. It goes on the list. By the way, this is the first commander from Lord of the Rings I play for worst possible. Does not disappoint. I can promise you that. Oh my god. Sorin's Ransom is 1 and a blue and a black instant. Choose an opponent. They look at the top 4 cards, separate them into a face down and a face up pile. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. The ring tempts you. So it's like Factor Fiction, but it's a 2/2. And the ring tempts you. It does fill graveyard. It's fine. It is an instant. That's nice. It's okay. Shadow Summoning, white and a black, create 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. Well, that goes in the in that deck, as it should. This card is not bad. It's a pretty good card. You usually don't get 2 mana for 2 1/1 flyers. I don't even know if it's Lingering Souls at home. It's just the enters tapped, I guess, is a balancing mechanism. This is a pretty good card. This might go in a lot of things. Shadowfax, Lord of Horses, shows us the meaning of haste. 3 and a red, white, 4/4 horses have haste. Whenever this attacks, you may put a creature card with lesser power from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Wait a minute. Gandalf's a 4/5. Gandalf the White's a 4/5. Can't even ride his own horse. The hell is that? I object. Card sucks. Terrible. Shagrat, Loot Bearer, 2 and a black red 4/4. When it attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it. Amass orcs. I stopped reading. It said equipment. Sharky, Tyrant of the Shire, 2 and a blue and a black 2/4. Activate abilities of lands your opponents control can't be activated unless they're mana. And this has all the activated abilities of lands your opponents control. This is fun in Commander. I don't think it can be your commander though, because they see it coming. This is a fun card in Commander. I don't think it's Historic Brawl playable. Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. 4 mana, black, green, 8/8 spider demon, death touch, ward 2. Other spiders have death touch and ward 2. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a food. This card is awesome. I don't know. Do I have to play fight effects to get the spiders to kill them? It doesn't have reach. Unplayable. Smeagol, Helpful Guide, 1 black, green, 4/2 halfling horror. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control, the ring tempts you. When the ring tempts you, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped under your control and the rest in your hand. So ring tempts you. Ramp. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, the ring tempts you. Dude, this card in Dina and Zimone and Dina is so cool. It's very helpful, actually. Yeah, this card is sweet. Yeah, there's a few cards I want. There's a few decks I'd play this in. Smeagol, Helpful Guide, very good in Zimone and Dina. Might be its own good deck, actually. Just, dude, it's gotta be the best Smeagol. It has to be, right? Because, like, you just get so much ramp, and it's from the opponent's deck, and you're milling them, and it's so cool. Is there a repeatable way to tempt? There's a few, but Call the Ring, the enchantment, is probably the best one. So, I don't know. It feels like there's enough tempting that we can play this and just ramp like crazy and play Smeagol lands. I'm excited to try Smeagol lands. I hadn't seen this card. This card makes me really want to play it. Strider, Ranger of the North is a 4 mana 4/4 with landfall that does some +1/+1, maybe first strike, meh. Theoden, King of Rohan, is 1 and a Boros for a 2/3. When this or another human enters the battlefield, target creature gains double. I mean, dishing out double strike is not messing around. That is for sure. That is for sure. But I don't really want to play this as a commander. Winota goes in Winota. Very much. Tom Bombadil. I mean, you guys have read this, right? It's a Saga tribal commander. Do I have to read this whole thing? Sagas do something. 4 or more lore counters among sagas. This has a hexproof and indestructible. Ha! Good luck. And then whenever the final chapter of a saga resolves, reveal cards from the top of your library till you reveal a saga and put it onto the battlefield. Like, that's so busted. It's just endless saga all the time. So stupidly busted. So we're going to play that. Ugluk of the White Hand, 2 and Rakdos 3/3. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a counter on it. If that creature has a Goblin Orc for 2, Artifact. Unduril, Flame of the West. 3 legendary equip, +3/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, create 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. If that creature is legendary, instead create 2 of them that are tapped and attacking. That's pretty cool. It's a cool equipment, but equipment's good in Commander. It's not that good in Historic Brawl, because in Historic Brawl everybody just kills your commander. So good for Commander. Borrow Blade, 1 equipped creature gets +1/+1, blah blah blah, lame. Ent Draught Basin, 2 artifact X, tap with a +1/+1 counter on a creature with power X, activate only as a sorcery. Nope. Glamdring, my preview card. Equipped creature has first strike and gets +1/+0 for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. It's a Rune Chanter's Pike. That's mythic. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. Equip 3. Card's busted. Actually busted. Completely unbeatable. The greatest card in the set probably. And has nothing to do with who revealed it. Just the way it is. Horn of Gondor. 3 mana legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Not bad. 3 tap, create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of humans you control. So that's like Krenko on an artifact. Well, that's busted. That's really good. That goes in human decks. Easy. Horn of the Mark, 2, legendary artifact. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, look at the top 5 of your library. You may reveal a creature card, put it into your hand, with the rest on the bottom. That seems pretty good. You probably want like over 30, like 40 some creatures, and you want to be attacking constantly. Another card that you can put in Winota, kind of like what we saw earlier. What was it? Hope of a New Age or something like that, where you play around like board wipes. This card's okay. Inherited Envelope, 3. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you, add a mana of any color. We'll see if that becomes playable. Mana rock that goes in ring tempts you decks. Llamas. When they say Llamas bread in the movie, is that like saying shy tea to somebody from India? Just asking. Artifact Food. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1, then draw. Sack it to gain 3 life. When it's put into the graveyard, its owner shuffles it into their library. Seems pretty good. I mean, as long as you're in a deck that has the time, like, if you have time for a 2-mana artifact like this, kind of like a Golden Egg, which got played in its time in some food decks and, you know, still sees play in some Historic Brawl decks. It's a good egg. Mirror of Gladriel is 2 mana for a legendary artifact. 5 tap, scry 1, draw. This costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. More legendary payoffs. Not really into it. Mithril Coat, 3, flash, indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to a legendary creature and it's indestructible. Well, this is better than... what is the Darksteel Plate? Yeah, it's way better than a Darksteel Plate. Now, this is good, right? I don't know if it's busted, but it's good. Like, it is 3 mana for indestructible. Now, not bad. But I think people saying it's 100% busted and you play it all the time, I don't know. I do like that they're adding some protection to every color, because one thing in my Commander, and I'm speaking specifically about Commander, in Commander, there are some colors that aren't good at protecting their commanders. Mainly red and a little bit of black, right? And this goes into those decks very easily, and you can tutor for it. So if you have a tutor that gets an artifact or an equipment, of which there are several in Commander, you can go get this card, and then you can protect your commander. So I think this will get played a lot in Commander. In Historic Brawl, it will get played specifically in some artifact decks. Like me and like Emery, I think, wants to play this, but not too many, not all of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if it did get cut from Emery eventually. The One Ring. Busted. Let's just put this on the list. This card has been revealed for a while. I made a whole video about this card. I want to draw a lot of cards with this card. I want to search for it, and I want to play it all the time. This card is totally epically sweet. So, yeah, I want the ring. I want to put a lot of burning counters on it. I'll gain life. I'll do what I gotta do. I'll cast Corrupt. I'll cast Shadow Spear. I'll do whatever. I just want the One Ring. I want all the cards from it. It's mine.
My precious.
Palatine of Orthanc. 3, legendary artifact, mythic. At the beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on this and scry 2. So it's good with scrying stuff. Okay, the elves might like it. Then target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X, where X is the number of influence counters, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. Whoa! Like Combustible Gear Hulks you all the time. This card is kind of good. It's a good little value card. I bet you start drawing cards, and it's in its way, it's kind of a win con. The opponent will probably take some mill and some damage for a while before they let you start drawing, and then when you start drawing, they're not going to stop. I like this card. I want to play it in several artifact based decks. I'll play it in Emery. I'll play it in Oswald. I'll play it in a bunch of things. The Phial of Galadriel. 3, legendary artifact. If you would draw a card while you have no cards in your hand, draw 2. Okay. If you would gain life while you have 5 or less, gain twice. Whoa. Add 1 mana of any color. It's a mana rock? It's an interesting mana rock. And it's a legendary one, so there's legendary payoff for it. I wonder. It's an interesting card. I'm curious to see where it falls. Right now, I am not positive where we should play it. But we can play it. Shire Scarecrow, 2/03 defender, add 1 mana of any color. Sting the Glinting Dagger, 2 mana artifact, equip 2 to give +1/+1 in haste. At the beginning of each combat, untap it. Equip creature has first strike as long as it's blocking or blocked by orc. I don't think that's a great sting. It's good with activated ability creatures or something you would just want to have something like a vigilance. But I think it's a very mediocre artifact. Stone of Eric. Eric? Hard C? Eric? 1, a legendary artifact. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile instead. Little hate piece there, and it's legendary. Sacrifice it to exile a player's graveyard and draw a card. Yeah, I'm gonna run that. Emery loves this. Wizard's Rockets. 1, enters the battlefield tapped. Sacrifice it for any combo of colors. When it's put into a graveyard, draw a card. It's good with the white Gandalf. You can draw 2 cards. That's it. That's the combo. Could go in some egg decks. In the lands, guys, we're almost there. We've got like 9 cards to go, guys. 9 cards to go. We are doing it. Baradur. They all say, like, all these legendary lands enter tapped unless you control a legendary creature. But if they enter untapped and they just tap for black, that's a 6 swamp you got there. And then amass X orcs if a creature died this turn. It's a pretty cool ability, especially as the game gets long. It could be a win con for those of us who are true believers in old school control. I love that. All these cards, by the way, all these lands, straight up, they're on the list. Well, at least the rare ones. The rare ones are just on the list, okay? They're on the list. Great Hall of the Citadel. Tap for 2 mana, any combination, only cast legendaries. It's not exactly a new Plaza of Heroes because it only taps for colors itself, but probably still might, like, playing one of these in that deck isn't a bad idea. The Grey Havens. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Tap for colorless. Tap for 1 mana among any color among a legendary creature in your graveyard. It's okay. It's a scry land. It's not a bad scry land, but it has potential upside. So in a legendary deck, it's pretty good. Minas Tirith. Those abilities, it's the white version. 1 and a white, tap it to draw a card. Activate only if you attack with 2 or more creatures. That card's good. If you play any amount of tokens or creatures, just the ability to basically 3 mana, get a card as the game draws on, could be very important. So just run it. We run this. The Mines of Moria. Legendary land. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard to make 2 treasures. That's very expensive to do it. It's like 5 mana. But that is a pretty cool way to get some artifact ETBs, get some treasures that you can use for all kinds of things, so you play it. Mount Doom, a new Rakdos land. Awesome. It enters the battlefield untapped, and you can pay a life for a red or a black. It's going to go in a number of decks just because of that. Then the next ability says this deals 1 damage to each opponent, which is fine and cool. And then 5 and a red black. Sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 creatures. Destroy the rest. It's a board wipe on a land, you guys. You know, you just have to have a legendary artifact. What legendary artifact am I running in everything? The Ring. Perfectly flavorful. But there's a number of other ways to get legendary artifacts on the field to use this with. So I'm excited about this. That will be fun. Sacrifice your Paradox Engine to do a board wipe. Okay. Rivendell. When it enters the battlefield, tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Yeah, that. 1 in a blue, scry 2 if you control a legend. This is okay. It's fine. The Shire. This one in a green and a tap an untapped creature you control to make food. You go farming. So that's going to be great in all the green decks. All kinds of green decks can play the Shire. Everybody can have food. Why not? And then there's Shire Terrace, the last card in the set that taps for a colorless, and for 1 and a tap, sack it. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. Hot garbage. What a great end note. The list! Guys, we have 17 cards on this list that I'm super excited to play, that I am super, super excited to build with. And the historic brawl content is going to be very cool. We've got some sweet combos. We've got some epic commanders. What we have are new cards, and they're Lord of the Rings themed. They seem so incredibly sweet. I am really excited to do this, but I've got to go. The worst possible ain't gonna film itself. So thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next one. Let me know if you actually stayed till the end. It's only 3 hours and 20 minutes. You're cool.